through a 5 year with you guys, and I think this is my first live for 2026. Um, thank you. Last year was a year, man. Um, what a year. First and foremost, for the last live that we're gonna do, I want to start off by saying thank you to all my subscribers for making me almost 20,000 subscribers strong. I appreciate you. Thank you very much. I can't show my, you know, I just appreciate you guys. Just gonna wait for a couple more people to join the live here, and go from there. Happy Monday to everyone going back to work. Appreciate every single one of you for joining the live. Thank you. Appreciate you. Just gonna wait till a couple more people get in. Got you're whoever is in the live right now. You're the first one, first live of 2026. Welcome to the live. I appreciate you. Thank you very much. You know, 2026. What's the goal for you for 2026? Mine is to finish up my medical program I'm going through right now. Get a job in medical field, and let God guide me in 2026. Maybe, start a good relationship with someone special, and then see how that goes. You know, yeah. What's your 2026 resolution, people? If you guys have some resolution that you guys are considering, please let me know in the comments. Before we start the live, I know there's not a lot of people in the live right now. If you're watching this, I'm at the point of the live where I got 0 people in the live right now, so I'm just kind of waiting for a couple people in the live. More than likely, this live is gonna go for a couple hours, so yeah. But first and foremost, I want to thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for guiding me through 2025, and definitely asking Him to strengthen me and guide me through this year, 2026. So much has happened in 2025 that's been good and bad, mostly good. I can't complain. Even if anything bad, I still won't complain because, yes, Medea, my youth. Figure real, what's up? In that house, you know, see it. Welcome to the live, man. First live for 2026, man. Trying to, get my streaming up again. Appreciate everyone. You guys for joining the live. Appreciate you. I know the people in Venezuela must be enjoying. Big up, see it? Yeah, for real, and big up, big up. To all my Jamaicans in the house, to all my Jamaicans watching later, big up yourself, man. To all the people from Venezuela, big up yourself too. I know a lot of people in Venezuela right now must be celebrating, and I can't imagine that. Like I'm from Jamaica, man, and I grew up with politics. I in a place in Jamaica called Tivoli Gardens. So it was politics is entrenched in my youth. And I've seen so much negative from politicians and a lot of positive from them. More negative than I can say positive. But what President Trump has done as a politician for the country of Venezuela, man, listen, bro, I can't understand. I can't even begin to understand that because even though I live in a free country, well, I used to, when I was in Jamaica, I was living in a free country. Honestly, politicians have made it bad for the people. They tax the Jamaican people 15% GCT. It's called General Consumption Tax, which is pretty much a tax on, it's 15% on everything. And they've been taking that tax since I was a kid. Even when I was a little kid and I didn't know what GCT meant, they've been taxing us on everything. You know what I mean? And when they tax us, they never give it. We don't get tax returns in Jamaica. We don't get anything like that. At least Americans, they get tax returns. They can look forward to a couple $1,000s at the end of the year. If you have 2, 3 kids, you can, look towards to getting about $10,000 back. In Jamaica, we don't get nothing. We don't get any free cheese. We barely get any government assistance. Like we really don't. So when a country like Venezuela, has had a dictator like this, and he's been known to drug run and take from the people and never really give back, man, I can see why the people are happy. I've seen a lot of stuff across the internet where a lot of Democrats, man, they're trying to turn this positive thing that President Trump has done for a whole country, right, into a negative. I see somewhere where Kamala Harris made some kind of comment saying that President Trump was out of line, going after Maduro, and yet still during the Biden Kamala Harris administration, they put out a reward for the capture of this said Maduro that she is out here condemning Trump of doing. The more I see like statements like this, I see people in different parts of the country, like, protesting and saying, oh, Trump shouldn't have gone there. But yet still, you look into the country of Venezuela and you look all across that country. People, I'm telling you, people by the hundreds of thousands are celebrating in the streets. But then you have people here in the United States with picket signs saying Trump should be, indicted again because of what he did in Venezuela. Yo, when Bush invaded Iraq, nobody indicted him, nobody picketed and did anything. You know what I mean? When Barack Obama went to get, Saddam Hussein, nobody picketed and he killed hundreds of thousands of people to do it. Nobody picketed. But yet still, when President Trump does anything, everything he does, it has to be this and that. And I just don't get it. I'm actually convinced. And let me know if I'm wrong, fam. If any in the comment, if you guys believe me or not, right? How is it that the Democratic Party and Americans would rather see drugs flood our country and hundreds of thousands of people die every year from fentanyl use? Family members, and until you have that family member or that family that's been impacted by that drug abuse and the loss and what goes through people losing a family member, you won't ever understand it. So I just don't understand how Democrats will say what Trump is doing in terms of, taking out these boats. And we see the videos of these boats, right? With triple engines. These so-called fishing boats, right? Triple engines, right? I'm talking about some of those engines are like 60,000. If you know anything about boating, I go out on boats with my friends to do fishing or just to fishing abilities, right? And if you know what a decent motor costs, it blows your mind. Sometimes you will have like a decent boat, but the engine itself is worth more than the boat. I've seen people sell used boats. I live in Miami, so there's boats everywhere. And I've seen, even looking up boats for myself, I've seen boats you can get for like $5,000. But the engine is worth more than $5,000. And even if you find a boat that's worth $5,000, even to repair that engine will cost probably like $3,000. Or even to put a new engine in it or a used engine in it, it's called $3,000-$4,000. So can you imagine when you see those boats with 3 Yamaha engine on the back, each engine worth about $50,000? You want to tell me you think those are fishing boats from this Venezuela third world country? Fishermen who are fishing for a living have 3 $50,000 engines on the back. So that's $150,000 an engine to propel those boats to go fishing. Really? And the Democrats would have you believe that, oh no, these are just fishermen, and oh, we're killing innocent fish. What? Are you kidding me? I can't understand. And I am really convinced that Democrats hate Americans. I'm convinced. I am convinced that Democrats, listen, I don't have to talk about things that are obvious, my friend. Somebody in the chat says, oh, I'm a preacher and I don't have to be, listen, it's common sense, which a lot of people don't have anymore. You can just look and see what you see. You don't have to be an expert. Look at the politicians we have now. Half of them are dummies. Look at Kamala Harris. She's at the highest level of politics. And she's not smart at all. We hear the foolishness she talks every day. So you don't have to be smart. You don't have to be a politician. You don't have to be Harvard graduate to have common sense. And as the preacher part of me, even though I'm not a preacher, ask God for discernment. That's how you will see it. So you won't understand what that meant, but it's okay. Pray and ask God for discernment, and you'll see what you're supposed to see. That veil that's over your eyes that allows you not to see what's wrong in front of you, God lifted for you. So it's okay. I don't have to explain myself to you. I have discernment. I pray for it every day, and it guides me everything that I do and I say. Now, for a president that opposes the woke movement, that wants to see drug dealers gone out of our country, I don't care. Nobody, listen, this is my life. Nobody can tell me to stop. All right. If you don't like what I'm saying, please just leave. You know what I mean? The people who appreciate what I'm saying and who appreciate the president we have, they'll stay and they'll listen. You know what I mean? So anyways, so I just don't understand how Democrats, I really like just to see how Democrats respond to a lot of things. I'm convinced that Democrats don't like Americans. They would rather take in people in the country and push the people away that have been building this country, paying their taxes, right? And people are opposed. And you know what? I saw another post after Kamala Harris made that retarded post about how Donald Trump shouldn't have done what he did to President Maduro, even though they were the one who initiated, a reward for his arrest. Another politician said to her, you know what? Thank you for making that comment, Kamala Harris, because this is why the American people spoke and showed you that you could never be president. And that's how I feel about a lot of Democrats and Democratic politicians. We see people like Jasmine Crockett, Akeem Jeffries, and we hear how they talk. They want to close down the government just to get more money to give away. Like we didn't like people in Somalia, in Minnesota haven't been stealing enough money out of the country. This is the type of things that they allow to happen under our nose and undermine the United States. And honestly, I love President Trump. I love what he stands for. I love the anti-wokeness, the anti-foolishness, and just acting as a normal president should. But I'm at the point where I'm a little disappointed, in President Trump. Stop the talking. Stop talking about in Minnesota stealing money. Bro, start going in there. Get these people. You have all the evidence. Get them out of there. Find the people that have been stealing. It's not that difficult. Get Elon Trump to come in. Go search the books. Find out what's been missing, freeze accounts, go back to even if that money is in Somalia, go get that money, get it out of there. You know what I mean? Put it back in the pockets and in the country and start arresting people. President Trump is starting to talk too much, and I don't see any arrests being made. I'm freaking tired of seeing all the talk about who's stealing money in Minnesota, who's doing this, who's doing that. Start arresting people. You know what I mean? Because I guarantee any of you guys were to walk into the White House or any government official, agency and steal a pen, you're going to serve time. So why are these people allowed to steal millions, maybe billions of dollars? We don't know how long and how this fraud has been going on in Minnesota. Start arresting people. That's what I want to start seeing. Stop the talking. I voted for, and everything President Trump is doing, I voted for. And I don't care what anybody that's Democratic in the comments want to say. Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. Guess what? American people knew what we were talking about because the Democrats lost a landslide, millions and millions of votes in every independent state, Democrat state, Republican state. So I don't give a crap what anybody in this live wants to say about, I don't know what I'm talking about. American people spoke, and the Democrats lost by a landslide because they had nothing to offer the American people. One thing I can say about President Trump, no matter if you like him or you don't like him, you gotta respect someone who, when they say something, they act on it. If that's their conviction and they say, hey, listen, this is what I'm going to do when I get in power. This is what I'm going to do if I get to this position. And they follow through on it. It's their conviction. People voted on it and they follow through with it. Everything he said he was going to do, he's lived up to that, whether you like it or not. How many politicians have we had in the past that finessed you, that pimped you to get your vote? Barack Obama. Barack Obama, and many more. Joe Biden. I remember as a student, I remember when Joe Biden said, oh, we're going to forgive student loans. Have any of you had your student loan forgiven? Instead of help you forgive your student loan, what did he do? Send the money to Ukraine. Opened up the border and gave it to all those people. My student loan is still there. And I've been contributing to this country for over 20 odd years, almost 30 years. You get what I'm saying? Where's that student loan forgiveness? You know, they make so many empty promises to you guys and they never deliver. But yet, so you have a president, everything, pretty much everything he said, whether you like it or not, right? He is following through on day one. My man was signing everything. Oh, this and this, and he followed through. Tell me I'll wait in the comments for a couple of minutes. The Democrats or the people who love the Biden-Harris administration, Barack Obama's, tell me one thing Barack Obama said he was going to do during pre-election that he actually did in real life. How many things he followed through on? I'll wait. I will wait. Name me something that Joe Biden did that he said he was going to, besides sending trillions to Ukraine and making people in Europe rich. Because that's all Democrats do, is resource money out of the United States to other countries, and it resources right back into their pockets. Literally, that's all they do. You know what I mean? Pretend to give away money and resource it back into their pockets. That's why a lot of these politicians, they come in as public servant. And again, the word public servant is exactly what it is. They serve the public, but they don't serve the public. You know what I mean? They serve their own interests and the interests of big pharma, you know, and the lobbyists that goes in and lobby through millions of dollars and lobby you out of all the rights that you voted for. You know what I mean? I'll wait for the people to tell me what Barack Obama promised as opposed to what he gave the American people. And I know what he gave us. We already know what he gave us. A lot more DEI, woke movement, and we all know. Listen, Michelle Obama, we know our brother's gay, right? We've seen him. We've seen how he moves. And I don't have anything against gay people. I have nothing against gay people, guys. But we can see she has a podcast, which I don't even think any first lady should have. That's just like, I really don't think a first lady should be on any kind of podcast. I don't see that happening. And not only does she have a podcast, most of the time she's dogging out her husband, which is a former president. She makes him look so weak and soft in our eyes. I remember when she did that, when they had that interview after she was telling him, oh, he can't touch the AC in the house. I'm like, what? The president of the United States, who was former the most powerful man on the planet for 8 years, he can't change the thermostat in his own house? What? And you make a comment that you don't want to you thank God he didn't have a son because you didn't want it to turn out like your husband, the president of the world for 8 years. And Barack Obama came on TV and told young black men that we should all grow up with a gay role model because he had one. What? But you want to tell me all young black men should grow up with a gay role model because he had one in college? Is that what you would like to pass on to your children? Are you kidding? No. When I was growing up, my role model was my coaches from high school. My coaches from high school were men. They weren't playing with me. They were telling me, hey, listen, you need to stop your whining. Get back on the field. Be a man. When you do this, when you grow up, take care of your mother. That's what men used to tell me when I used to run track and play soccer in high school. You know what I mean? They never babied me around or telling me any foolishness. Hey, stop your crying. Get back up. Get back on the field. We don't want to hear your crying. Go back and build character. But no, Barack Obama says, no, we should all have a gay role model. What is a gay role model going to teach your son? If just give me a light, man. If you think that your son role model should be a gay person other than you or someone else, I just don't see it. I just don't. And I'm not saying a gay person can't teach you anything. I'm pretty sure they could. But simply the fact that I'm a young man and I have a young man in my household, He already has so much going against him as a young person in our society right now. Why would I want someone else to teach my son something like that? No, I don't. I want to teach him, hey, listen, life is hard. I'm going to teach you how to pursue and persevere through it. A gay role model, that's not what they're going to teach my son. At some point in time, that kind of lifestyle is going to start seeping into conversations. And that's not the lifestyle I want him to have. I want to be the protector. I want to show my son, hey, listen, respect everyone, right? Respect the opinion of everyone, whether they're gay, LGBTQ, blah, 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 whoever. But this is your path. This is the path I want you to travel. This is my job to show you this path. This is what I want you to learn. This is how I want you to be as a man. I don't want my son to get influenced by some other man. No, especially if they're of that, persuasion. I have nothing against it. I just don't want it for my child. And I would assume you don't want it for your child. And again, there's nothing wrong with them being the way they are. That's just my opinion on my family. You know what I mean? If I find out that that's what's happening at my child's school and my child's staying back, and I'm not having it, that's just my opinion. My child can come home to me and I can instill my values that I grew up on him. Christianity, fairness, sports, respect, being a heterosexual male. Be respectful to your teacher. Play a sport. Get up when you fall down. You know what I mean? Hit the gym. Strong mental acuity. Study your book. I can give that to my child. Or there's other role models that can give that to your child. Boys and Girls Clubs of America that are out there if you don't have a male role model in your life. You know what I mean? There's tutors, there's sponsors for young men and women out there who don't have a mother and father. Those are the ones I want to influence my child. You know what I mean? Not someone who's going to lead my child into a direction that I don't want them to be led in. You know what I mean? Because I don't want my child to grow up soft or confused. I want it to grow up normal, right? And understand that, hey, you respect everyone, but this is your lane. You know what I mean? But anyways, yeah, man, I'm so happy for the people of Venezuela that woke up this morning and they're one step closer to freedom. Because even when you take off the head of a snake of an organization like this, remember, there's still people that work under him. It's not just Maduro and his wife that's been building up wealth through the drug trade or suppressing their people. There's many other heads to this stake. And I'm pretty sure the Venezuelan people appreciate President Trump. And even though we have people here in the United States who want to undermine by protesting in different states, saying that, President Trump shouldn't have gone in, guess what? He did, and he took the first step to helping these people to gain normalcy back into their country. And with that, you can't hate on a man like that. I honestly believe that President Trump was sent to stop a lot of the foolishness that's been going on in the United States. And I appreciate that. DEI, woke, foolishness, open borders, drug running into our country. I just can't understand how people would oppose any of these things. Even if you don't like someone, even if I don't like someone and they're doing right by me, my family, the country, I respect them for that. And I'm not going to go ahead and do my utmost to undermine that person when that person is doing the right thing. And that's how I feel about a lot of people who go against President Trump. I don't care if you don't like him. You know what I mean? You don't have to like him, but you should respect him. If a lot of people, go to their jobs and they don't like their boss, do you stop working there? Do you get up every day and cuss out your boss? No, they don't. You know what I mean? They go to work, shut the hell up, work their job, and go home. Democrats lost the election by a landslide. Shut the hell up. Go sit down. In 3 years' time, you get to vote again for Mandami and whoever the hell they want to put up. Bernie Sanders and and these idiots want to put back up against our boy, the vice president or Marco Rubio, and you're gonna lose again. Regardless of all the talk that the Democrats are doing, guess what? The Democrats won't win another election for the next 10, 20 years because you guys, the ideology you guys have to run this country and just open up the border and let people come in and steal billions like in Minnesota. People are sick and tired of that. You know what I mean? And that's why Democrats won't ever win another election for a very long time. And mark my words, I said it here. Democrats won't ever win another election for a very long time. I promise you that. Because the American people, they see what true government looks like. They see what men in politics actually act and do, not soft women and I have nothing against women. A woman can be a great president. Margaret Thatcher from England she was called the Iron Lady. Women can be good politicians, just not Kamala Harris. Not Kamala Harris, not her. You know what I mean? And the woman that stepped up to be president so far, I'm so sorry, man. Two horrible people who did it. Kamala Harris and Hillary Clinton. Two of the worst people that could ever step up for politics. I'm yet to see a woman to show up and say, hey, this is a great candidate for presidency. And I'm not saying that there's not. I'm not, I'm not a misogynist. I don't hate women. I love women. You know what I mean? But honestly, in this world of politics, whether you want to believe it or not, they're not really going to take a lot of women serious in politics. I don't think Kamala Harris could go to Dubai or Saudi Arabia and a lot of these countries and advocate for, those countries investing into the United States. I don't see it. I really don't. You know what I mean? I absolutely do not see it. You know what I mean? I could be wrong. I would stand corrected if that would happen in the future, but I don't see it. I don't see it. President Trump has been negotiating with people for a lifetime. I think he was the best man for the position. Marco Rubio, the vice president, have been learning from him, and I think one of these two people are going to be our next president, whether you like it or not. You know what I mean? And anybody don't like what I'm saying, tell me to shut up, get the hell out of the live. If you don't like it, you shut up and you get out of here. If you don't like the live, you don't like what I'm saying, if you don't like what the president is doing, you can get out of here too, man. I really don't care what anybody think about. This is my life. If you don't want to watch, you're free to go. If you respect what the president is doing, keeping our borders safe, keeping our people safe, less drugs coming in our country, locking down the borders and vetting people properly, then this is the channel for you, man. I don't care what nobody else in here think. Listen, people can say, I see some people talking about I'm a clown and Uncle Tom. Hey, listen, I'm an Uncle Tom all day. I'm an Uncle Tom for this country. I don't care. I want to see this country thrive. I want to see you guys do well. You know what I mean? Anyways, guys, let's hear what the president has to say about Maduro. Congratulations to the people of Venezuela who've woken up today and seen that one of this dictator has been, not eliminated, has been detracted from their country. My happiness goes out to all these people. I hope from this day forward their families live a better life in Venezuela. I saw the Cuban president came and he was making some speech, talking all kind of smack, and I would have to say, man, shut up and go sit down, bro. Don't bring no attention to yourself. My neighbor's Cuban. I have a lot of Cuban friends. And what Cubans have been going through for the past forever long. It's a tragedy. What they had to live under. And my advice to the Cuban president is to shut the hell up and go sit down somewhere. You know what I mean? Don't bring it. Don't let Trump get on your ass, man. You see them talking. Also, the Mexican president, she's another one talking all kind of smack. I'm like, y'all should stay off Trump's radar, man. You know what I mean? Yeah, Trump. I said earlier that he talks a lot, and a lot of people in the United States haven't been arrested. Trust me, he's working diligently in the back to get that stuff happen. And I'm telling you, Mexico and Cuba should be quiet. Be quiet. Don't get on this man's radar because you might be next. You know what I mean? And I honestly think at some point in time, I think Mexico they're gonna get it. They're gonna go in there and they're gonna get a lot of these drug dealers or cartels out of Mexico. I really think they are. You know what I mean? And like I said, in terms of Cuba, be quiet, man. Don't call any attention to yourself. Listen, President Trump can go in Cuba and liberate that country in probably 48 hours. Easily. Guaranteed, I promise you he could. You know what I mean? For my Cuban people, we can just hope, man. I love my Cuban people. My neighbor's Cuban. I've had a ton load of Cuban friends since I've lived in Miami, Florida, and I wish the best for Cuba and their country. You know what I mean? Maybe one day, President Trump will smile on them and go in there and get busy. You know what I mean? And like I said, a lot of drugs also come out of Mexico. That Mexican president, she need to be quiet too and stop her talking. You know what I mean? But anyway, guys, let's hear what the president has to say after they went ahead and liberated liberated Venezuela. Well, pretty much start at least.
Okay, thank you very much. This is Big Duff.
Before we start, guys, before we start that, man, I just want to say, Happy New Year to everyone. Thank you guys for making me almost 20,000 strong in terms of subscription. I appreciate every single one of you guys supporting the channel. You can go ahead and subscribe to the channel, like the videos, watch a couple of my other videos. For New Year resolution, man, I just want to finish up on the medical program I'm going through. Whatever you guys are doing, man, put God first, work hard, keep your head down, mind your business. And that's the key to success, man. I've done that in 2025, 2024 to start the medical program I'm going through and try and finish it up. And I'm almost there, man. And I just want to say to anybody, man, the worst thing you can do for yourself is procrastination. When I was trying to get into this program, man, I thought about it, and then I acted on it. And like almost 2.5 years later, I'm almost at the finish line. Not the finish line, but I'm very close to it, man. So whatever it is that you guys want to do in life, man, the biggest enemy you have, right, is not other people. It's not jealousy from other people. It's not other people bringing you down. It's your own mental, man. It's that procrastination. It's sitting around and saying, oh, I'm going to do this, and then never do it. I remember people I used to talk to when I was thinking about getting to the program, and this is almost 2.5 years ago. And they're like, oh, that's a long thing. I'm almost finished, man. I'm almost finished. And it didn't even feel like a long time. So if you guys really want to do something with your life, man, and it's something you want to start a business, you want to go back to school, you want to start getting your prerequisites to start some kind of program, the best thing you can do is go speak to an advisor, start doing the process, start taking one class at a time, get online, do some online courses, and start work budget. 2026 might not be easier. You know what I mean? But you can make it easier on yourself by getting closer and closer and closer to a goal that you have. Starting a business, starting a YouTube channels, doing prerequisites to get back to school, get into school again, increase your self-worth, increase your financial worth, start doing some investment, learning how to trade. These are the things you guys can do to improve your life. Even though we have a president and people keep saying, hey, why we haven't seen this and this and this happen? Listen, it's up to you to make this happen. You can't listen. The government might not be there for you, whether your candidate won or don't want. It's up to you to make a better life for yourself. So my New Year's resolution is to keep pushing through, finish up my medical degree, and just kind of be the best version of myself. And even when I'm done that, go as far as I can with that medical degree. You know what I mean? And try to be the best person I can be for myself. But my advice, guys, is to don't procrastinate. Don't put off something for tomorrow that you can do today. And I know it sounds cliche and people say it all the time, but listen, do not put it off. When I talk to other people and they say, man, you're almost at the finish line. I said, bro, you remember when I was telling you that a year and a half that I started this program? And they said, damn, it's been a year and a half already? Yes, it's been a year and a half already. And come May, close to my graduation, it's going to be almost 2 years that I've started this program. And guys, the worst thing you can do, I'm telling you, if you don't take any advice from anybody you see on YouTube today, the worst thing you can do for yourself is the spirit of procrastination. The spirit of procrastination is your worst enemy. Sitting around, not doing anything, delaying, saying you're going to do it next year. Next year is here, saying you're going to do it in 6 months. Say you're going to start working out, in January. Nah, stop it. Just get to it and do it. Once you start doing it, guys, then it'll start flowing. But you have to start. If you don't start, you're gonna stay in that slump. So that's my advice for the people in this channel, on my channel today. I appreciate you. Thank you for making me almost 20,000 strong. Go ahead, like, subscribe, share the video, watch some of my other videos, support if you can. If you want to give a monetary donation, I'll take that. I use it to buy equipment, camera equipment, firearms, ammo, because I'm pretty much a two-way channel that also delve in some kind of politics. And with that said, guys, thank you guys very much. Happy 2026. People in your life who don't mean you any good, they got to go. All the people that didn't show me no love 2025, stay back there. All the people who was rocking with me 2025 into 2026, appreciate you. Thank you. I'm here for you.
Late last night and today, at my direction, the United States Armed Forces conducted an extraordinary military operation in the capital of Venezuela. Overwhelming American military power, air, land, and sea, was used to launch a spectacular assault. And it was an assault like people have not seen since World War II. It was a force against a heavily fortified military fortress in the heart of Caracas to bring outlaw dictator Nicolas Maduro to justice. This was one of the most stunning, effective, and powerful displays of American military might and competence in American history. And if you think about it, there's some other good ones like the attack on Soleimani, the attack on al-Baghdadi, and the obliteration and decimation of the Iran nuclear sites just recently in an operation known as Midnight Hammer, all perfectly executed and done. No nation in the world could achieve what America achieved yesterday, or frankly, in just a short period of time. All Venezuelan military capacities were rendered powerless as the men and women of our military, working with U.S. law enforcement, successfully captured Maduro in the dead of night. It was dark. The lights of Caracas were largely turned off due to a certain expertise that we have. It was dark and it was deadly. But captured along with his wife, Celia Flores, both of whom now face American justice. Maduro and Flores have been indicted in the Southern District of New York, Jay Clayton, for their campaign of deadly narco-terrorism against the United States and its citizens. I want to thank the men and women of our military who achieved such an extraordinary success overnight with breathtaking speed, power, precision, and competence. You rarely see anything like it. You've seen some raids in this country that didn't go so well. They were an embarrassment. If you look back to Afghanistan, or if you look back to the Jimmy Carter days, they were different days. We're a respected country again, maybe like never before. These highly trained warriors operating in collaboration with U.S. law enforcement caught them in a very ready position. They were waiting for us. They knew we had many ships out in the sea, just sort of waiting. They knew we were coming. So they were in what's called a ready position. But they were completely overwhelmed and very quickly incapacitated. If you would have seen what I saw last night, you would have been very impressed. I'm not sure that you'll ever get to see it, but it was an incredible thing to see. Not a single American service member was killed, and not a single piece of American equipment was lost. We had many helicopters, many planes, many people involved in that fight. But think of that, not one piece of military equipment was lost, not one service member was more importantly killed. The United States military is the strongest and most fearsome military on the planet by far. With capabilities and skills our enemies can scarcely begin to imagine. We have the best equipment anywhere in the world. There's no equipment like what we have, and you see that even if you just look at the boats. You know, we've knocked out 97% of the drugs coming by sea. 90%. Each boat kills 25, on average, 25,000 people. We knocked out 97%. And those drugs mostly come from a place called Venezuela. We're going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. So we don't want to be involved with having somebody else get in, and we have the same situation that we had for the last long period of years. So we are going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. And it has to be judicious, because that's what we're all about. We want peace, liberty, and justice for the great people of Venezuela, and that includes many from Venezuela that are now living in the United States and want to go back to their country. It's their homeland. We can't take a chance that somebody else takes over Venezuela that doesn't have the good of the Venezuelan people in mind. And decades of that. We're not going to let that happen. We're there now, and what people don't understand, but they understand as I say this, we're there now, but we're going to stay until such time as the proper transition can take place. So we're going to stay until such time as, we're going to run it essentially until such time as a proper transition can take place. As everyone knows, the oil business in Venezuela has been a bust, a total bust, for a long period of time. They were pumping almost nothing by comparison to what they could have been pumping and what could have taken place. We're going to have our very large United States oil companies, the biggest anywhere in the world, go in, spend billions of dollars, fix the badly broken infrastructure, the oil infrastructure, and start making money for the country. And we are ready to stage a second and much larger attack if we need to do so. So we were prepared to do a second wave if we needed to do so. We actually assumed that a second wave would be necessary, but now it's probably not. The first wave, if you'd like to call it that, the first attack was so successful, we probably don't have to do a second, but we're prepared to do a second wave, a much bigger wave, actually. This was pinpoint, but we have a much bigger wave that probably won't have to do. This partnership of Venezuela with the United States of America, a country that everybody wants to be involved with because of what we were able to do and accomplish, will make the people of Venezuela rich, independent, and safe. And it will also make the many, many people from Venezuela that are living in the United States extremely happy. They suffered. They suffered. So much was taken from them. They're not going to suffer anymore. The illegitimate dictator Maduro was the kingpin of a vast criminal network responsible for trafficking colossal amounts of deadly and illicit drugs into the United States. As alleged in the indictment, he personally oversaw the vicious cartel known as Cartel de las Solas, which flooded our nation with lethal poison responsible for the deaths of countless Americans, many, many Americans, hundreds and thousands over the years of Americans died because of him. Maduro and his wife will soon face the full might of American justice and stand trial on American soil. Right now, they're on a ship they'll be heading to, ultimately, New York, and then a decision will be made, I assume, between New York and Miami or Florida. But we have people where the overwhelming evidence of their crimes will be presented in a court of law. And I've seen it. I've seen what we have. It's both horrible and breathtaking that something like this could have been allowed to take place. For many years after his term as president of Venezuela expired, Maduro remained in power and waged a ceaseless campaign of violence, terror, and subversion against the United States of America, threatening not only our people, but the stability of the entire region. And you all saw it. In addition to trafficking gigantic amounts of illegal drugs that inflicted untold suffering and human destruction all over the country, all over in particular the United States, Maduro sent savage and murderous gangs, including the bloodthirsty prison gang, Tren de Aragua, to terrorize American communities nationwide, and he did indeed. They were in Colorado. They took over apartment complexes. They cut the fingers off people if they called police. They were brutal, but they're not so brutal now. And I just have to congratulate our military, Pete, and everybody, and our National Guard, because the job that they've done, whether it's in Washington, D.C., where we have a totally safe city, where it was one of the most unsafe cities anywhere in the world, frankly, and now we have no crime in Washington, D.C. We haven't had a killing. We had the terrorist attack a few weeks ago. A little bit of a different kind of a threat. But we haven't had a killing in a long period of time, 6, 7 months. We used to have 2, on average 2 a week in Washington, our capital. We don't have that anymore. The restaurants are opening. Everyone's happy. They go and walk in their daughters. They walk in their children, their wives. They walk to restaurants. Restaurants are opening all over Washington, D.C. So I want to thank the National Guard. I want to thank our military. And I want to thank law enforcement. It's been amazing. And they should do it with more cities. We're doing it, as you know, and we're doing it in Memphis, Tennessee right now, and crime is down. We just sort of started a few weeks ago, but crime is down now 77%. And the governor of Louisiana called, great person, and he wanted us to help him, as you know, in a certain very nice part of Louisiana. And we have done that. It was a rough section, and we have crime down. I understand it's down to almost nothing already after 4.5 weeks. New Orleans, it's down to almost nothing, and we've only been there for 2.5 weeks. Can't imagine why governors wouldn't want us to help. We also helped, as you know, in Chicago, and crime went down a little bit there. We did a very small help because we had no working ability with the governor. The governor was a disaster, the mayor was a disaster, but it knocked down crime. But we're pulling out of there when they need us. We'll know, you'll be writing about it. And likewise, Los Angeles, where we saved Los Angeles early on, where the head of the police department made a statement that if the federal government didn't come in, we would have lost Los Angeles. That's long after the fires. That's when they had the riots in Los Angeles. We did a great job. Got no credit for it whatsoever, but that's okay. It doesn't matter. We don't need the credit. But we'll be pulling out when they need us. They'll call, or we'll go back if we have to. We'll go back. But we did a great job in various cities. But the place that we're very proud of is Washington, D.C., because it's our nation's capital. We took it from being a crime-ridden mess to being one of the safest cities in the country. But the gangs that they sent raped, tortured, and murdered American women and children. They were in all of the cities I mentioned, Tren de Aragua. And they were sent by Maduro to terrorize our people, and now Maduro will never again be able to threaten an American citizen or anybody from Venezuela. There will no longer be threats. For years I've highlighted the stories of those innocent Americans whose lives were so heartlessly robbed by this Venezuelan terrorist organization. Really one of the worst, they say the worst. Americans like 12-year-old Jocelyn Nungari from Houston, beautiful Jocelyn Nungari, what happened to her? They, as you know, they kidnapped, assaulted, and murdered by Aragua animals. They murdered Jocelyn and left her dead under the bridge. There was a bridge that will never be the same to so many people after seeing what happened. As I've said many times, the Maduro regime emptied out their prisons, sent their worst and most violent monsters into the United States to steal American lives. And they came from mental institutions and insane asylums. They came from prisons and jails. The reason I say both, they sound similar. Actually, prisons, a little bit more hostile, a little bit tougher. A mental institution isn't as tough as an insane asylum, but we got them both. They sent from their mental institutions, they sent from their jails, prisons. They were drug dealers, they were drug kingpins, they sent everybody bad into the United States. But no longer, and we have now a border where nobody gets through. In addition, Venezuela unilaterally seized and sold American oil, American assets, and American platforms, costing us billions and billions of dollars. They did this a while ago, but we never had a president that did anything about it. They took all of our property. It was our property. We built it. And we never had a president that decided to do anything about it. Instead, they fought wars that were 10,000 miles away. We built Venezuela oil industry with American talent, drive, and skill, and the socialist regime stole it from us during those previous administrations, and they stole it through force. This constituted one of the largest thefts of American property in the history of our country. Considered the largest theft of property in the history of our country. Massive oil infrastructure was taken like we were babies, and we didn't do anything about it. I would have done something about it. America will never allow foreign powers to rob our people and drive us back into and out of our own hemisphere. That's what they did. Furthermore, under the now deposed dictator Maduro, Venezuela was increasingly hosting foreign adversaries in our region and acquiring menacing offensive weapons that could threaten U.S. interests and lives. And they used those weapons last night. Potentially in league with the cartels operating along our border. All of these actions were in gross violation of the core principles of American foreign policy, dating back more than 2 centuries. And not anymore. All the way back, it dated to the Monroe Doctrines. And the Monroe Doctrine is a big deal, but we've superseded it by a lot, by a real lot. They now call it the Monroe Doctrine, and I don't know. It's Monroe Doctrine. We sort of forgot about it. It was very important, but we forgot about it. We don't forget about it anymore. Under our new national security strategy, American dominance in the Western Hemisphere will never be questioned again. Won't happen. So just in concluding, for decades, other administrations have neglected or even contributed to these growing security threats in the Western Hemisphere. Under the Trump administration, we are reasserting American power in a very powerful way in our home region. And our home region is very different than it was just a short while ago. The future will be, and we did this in my first term. We had great dominance in my first term, and we have far greater dominance right now. Everyone's coming back to us. The future will be determined by the ability to protect commerce and territory and resources that are core to national security. These are core to our national security. Just like tariffs they made our country rich, and they've made our national security stronger than ever before. But these are the iron laws that have always determined global power, and we're going to keep it that way. We will secure our borders, we will stop the terrorists, we will crash the cartels, and we will defend our citizens against all threats, foreign and domestic. Other presidents may have lacked the courage or whatever to defend America, but I will never allow terrorists and criminals to operate with impunity against the United States. This extremely successful operation should serve as a warning to anyone who would threaten American sovereignty or endanger American lives. Very importantly, the embargo on all Venezuelan oil remains in full effect. The American Armada remains poised in position, and the United States retains all military options until the United States demands have been fully met and fully satisfied. All political and military figures in Venezuela should understand what happened to Maduro can happen to them, and it will happen to them if they aren't just fair even to their people. The dictator and terrorist, Maduro, is finally gone in Venezuela. People are free. They're free again. It's been a long time for them, but they're free. America is a safer nation. This morning, it's a prouder nation this morning because it didn't allow this horrible person and this country that was doing very bad things to us. It didn't allow it to happen. And the Western Hemisphere is right now a much safer place to be. So I want to thank everybody for being here. I want to thank General Raisin Kane. He's a fantastic man. I've worked with a lot of generals. I worked with some I didn't like. I worked with some I didn't respect. I worked with some that just weren't good. But this guy is fantastic. I watched last night one of the most precise attacks on sovereignty. I mean, it was an attack for justice. And I'm very proud of him, and I'm very proud of our Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, who I'm going to ask to say a few words. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, can you explain how the U.S. will run Venezuela?
Well, thank you, Mr. President. Finally, a commander-in-chief the world respects and the American people deserve. And as the President said, words can barely capture the bravery and the power and the precision of this historic operation. A massive joint military and law enforcement raid flawlessly executed by the greatest Americans our country has to offer. American warriors are second to none, the best in the world and the best of our country. What all of us witnessed last night was sheer guts and grit, gallantry, and glory of the American warrior. I'm simply humbled by such men, and I tip my hat to our chairman, Dan Raisin Kane, and all those Americans who stood watch last night. Our warriors are the elite of America, and again, President Trump has your back. No other country on planet Earth, and it's not even close, could pull this kind of operation off. And no other president has ever shown this kind of leadership, courage, and resolve. The most powerful combination the world has ever seen. As the President said, our adversaries remain on notice. America can project our will anywhere, anytime. The coordination, the stealth, the lethality, the precision, the very long arm of American justice, all on full display in the middle of the night. Nicolas Maduro had his chance, just like Iran had their chance, until they didn't and until he didn't. He effed around and he found out. President Trump is deadly serious about stopping the flow of gangs and violence to our country. Deadly serious about stopping the flow of drugs and poison to our people. Deadly serious about getting back the oil that was stolen from us. And deadly serious about reestablishing American deterrence and dominance in the Western Hemisphere. This is about the safety, security, freedom, and prosperity of the American people. This is America first. This is peace through strength. And the United States War Department is proud to help deliver it. Welcome to 2026, and under President Trump, America is back. I'd like to welcome now our Chairman Raisin Kane, to give a few more details about the operation.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Thank you, Mr. President, and good morning. Last night, on the order of the President of the United States, and in support of a request from the Department of Justice, as the President said, the United States military conducted an apprehension mission in Caracas, Venezuela, to bring to justice two indicted persons, Nicolas and Cecilia Maduro. This operation, known as Operation Absolute Resolve, was discreet, precise, and conducted during the darkest hours of January 2nd, and was the culmination of months of planning and rehearsal, an operation that, frankly, only the United States military could undertake. What I'd like to do this morning is talk to you through some of the preparation and the details without compromising any of our tactics, techniques, and procedures. There is always a chance that we'll be tasked to do this type of mission again. Our interagency work began months ago and built on decades of experience of integrating complex air, ground, space, and maritime operations. While the past 2 decades have honed the skills of our special operations forces, this particular mission required every component of our joint force, with soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Guardians working in unison with our intelligence agency partners and law enforcement teammates in an unprecedented operation. We leveraged our unmatched intelligence capabilities and our years of experience in hunting terrorists. And we could not have done this mission without the incredible work by various intelligence agencies, including the CIA, NSA, and NGA. We watched, we waited, we prepared, we remained patient and professional. This mission was meticulously planned, drawing lessons from decades of missions over the last many years, many missions over these last many years. This was an audacious operation that only the United States could do. It required the utmost of precision and integration within our joint force. And the word integration does not explain the sheer complexity of such a mission. An extraction so precise, it involved more than 150 aircraft launching across the Western Hemisphere in close coordination, all coming together in time and place to layer effects for a single purpose: to get an interdiction force into downtown Caracas while maintaining the element of tactical surprise. Failure of one component of this well-oiled machine would have endangered the entire mission, and failure is never an option for America's joint force. Those in the air over Caracas last night were willing to give their lives for those on the ground and in the helicopters.
Hey guys, did you know some drivers are ditching their car insurance and they're doing this instead? Now the reason why you may be overpaying for car insurance is because a big chunk of your monthly payment isn't even for insurance. It's to pay bill collectors and administrative people. Crazy, right?
Let me talk a little bit about the preparation. After months of work by our intelligence teammates to find Maduro and understand how he moved, where he lived, where he traveled, what he ate, what he wore, what were his pets. In early December, our force was set pending a series of aligned events. Key was choosing the right day to minimize the potential for civilian harm and maximize the element of surprise, and minimize the harm to the indicted personnel, so as the president said, they could be brought to justice. And as the president said earlier today, weather in Venezuela is always a factor this time of the year. And over the weeks through Christmas and New Year's, the men and women of the United States military sat ready, patiently waiting for the right triggers to be met and the president to order us into action. Last night, the weather broke just enough, clearing a path that only the most skilled aviators in the world could maneuver through. Ocean, mountain, low cloud ceilings, but when tasked with a mission, this organization does not quit. At 10:46 p.m. Eastern Time last night, the president ordered the United States military to move forward with this mission. He said to us, and we appreciate it, Mr. President, good luck and Godspeed. And those words were transmitted to the entire Joint Force. Over the course of the night, aircraft began launching from 20 different bases on land and sea across the Western Hemisphere. In total, more than 150 aircraft, bombers, fighters, intelligence, reconnaissance, surveillance, rotary wing were in the air last night. Thousands and thousands of hours of experience were airborne. Our youngest crew member was 20, and our oldest crew member was 49, and there's simply no match for American military might. As the night began, the helicopters took off with the extraction force, which included law enforcement officers, and began their flight into Venezuela at 100 feet above the water. As they approached Venezuelan shores, the United States began layering different effects provided by Spacecom, Cybercom, and other members of the interagency to create a pathway. Overhead, those forces were protected by aircraft from the United States Marines, the United States Navy, the United States Air Force, and the Air National Guard. The force included F-22s, F-35s, F-18s, EA-18s, E-2s, B-1 bombers, and other support aircraft, as well as numerous remotely piloted drones. As the force began to approach Caracas, the Joint Air Component began dismantling and disabling the air defense systems in Venezuela, employing weapons to ensure the safe passage of the helicopters into the target area. The goal of our air component is, was, and always will be to protect the helicopters and the ground force and get them to the target and get them home. As the force crossed the last point of high terrain where they'd been hiding in the clutter, we assessed that we had maintained totally the element of surprise. As the helicopter force ingressed towards the objective at low level, we arrived at Maduro's compound at 1:01 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, or 2:01 a.m. Caracas local time, and the apprehension force descended into Maduro's compound and moved with speed, precision, and discipline towards their objective, and isolated the area to ensure the safety and security of the ground force while apprehending the indicted persons. On arrival into the target area, the helicopters came under fire, and they replied with that fire with overwhelming force and self-defense. One of our aircraft was hit, but remained flyable, and as the President said earlier today, all of our aircraft came home, and that aircraft remained flyable during the rest of the mission. As the operation unfolded at the compound, our air and ground intelligence teams provided real-time updates to the ground force, ensuring those forces could safely navigate the complex environment without unnecessary risk. The force remained protected by overhead tactical aviation. Maduro and his wife, both indicted, gave up and were taken into custody by the Department of Justice, assisted by our incredible U.S. military with professionalism and precision, with no loss of U.S. life. After securing the indicted persons, the force began to prep for departure. Helicopters were called in to exfiltrate the extraction force, while fighter aircraft and remotely piloted aircraft provided overhead coverage and suppressive fire. There were multiple self-defense engagements as the force began to withdraw out of Venezuela. The force successfully exfiltrated and returned to their afloat launch bases, and the force was over the water at 3:29 a.m. Eastern Standard Time with indicted persons on board. And both Maduro and his wife were embarked aboard the USS Iwo Jima. In closing, what we've witnessed today is a powerful demonstration of America's joint force. We think, we develop, we train, we rehearse, we debrief, we rehearse again and again, not to get it right, but to ensure that we cannot get it wrong. Our jobs are to integrate combat power so when the order comes, we can deliver overwhelming force at the time and the place of our choosing against any foe anywhere in the world. I am immensely proud today of our joint force and filled with gratitude to represent them here today. There is simply no mission too difficult for these incredible professionals and the families that stand by them and support them. As we stand here this morning, our forces remain in the region at a high state of readiness, prepared to project power, defend themselves, and our interests in the region. This operation is a testament to the dedication and unwavering commitment to justice and our resolve to hold accountable those who threaten peace and stability. In closing, I want to express my heartfelt gratitude to the brave men and women who executed this mission. Their courage and tireless commitment to our nation are what makes us strong. Thank you, Mr. Secretary, and thank you, Mr. President.
Well, I don't have much to add to what you've heard now, other than the following points. Nicolas Maduro was indicted in 2020 in the United States. He is not the legitimate president of Venezuela. That's not just us saying it. The first Trump administration, the Biden administration, the second Trump administration, none of those three recognized him. He's not recognized by the European Union and multiple countries around the world. He is a fugitive of American justice with a $50 million reward, which I guess we say $50 million. And
Make sure.
yeah, exactly. But
Don't let anybody claim it. Nobody deserves it but us.
But I want to be clear about one thing. Nicolas Maduro had multiple opportunities to avoid this. He was provided multiple very, very, very generous offers and chose instead to act like a wild man, chose instead to play around. And the result is what we saw tonight. The other message here is the following. You have a guy, like many people around the world, they like to play games. You have a guy who decides he's going to invite Iran into his country, is going to do the confiscation of American oil companies, is going to flood our country with gang members, is going to take Americans prisoner and try to hold them for hostage and trade them like he was able to do with the Biden administration. Basically likes to play games all this time and thinks nothing's going to happen. And I hope what people now understand is that we have a president. The 47th president of the United States is not a game player. When he tells you that he's going to do something, when tells you he's going to address a problem, he means it. He actions it. I can tell you, I've watched this process now for 14, 15 years, been around it. Everybody talks, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. When I get there, we're going to do this, we're going to take... This is a president of action. Like, I don't understand yet how they haven't figured this out. And now, if you don't know, now you know. Because this is the way it's going to play out, and I think people need to understand that this is not a president that just talks and does letters and press conferences. And, if he says he's serious about something, he means it. And this is something that was a direct threat to the national interest of the United States, and the president addressed it. This is a president of peace, by the way. I told you what I just said earlier. This guy had multiple opportunities to find his way somewhere else and figure out another. He could have been living somewhere else right now very happy, but instead he wanted to play big boy. And so now, he's got other sets of problems on his hands. And but I think that the message here should be for the world. Look, the president doesn't go out looking for people to pick fights with. He's not, generally wants to get along with everybody. We'll talk and meet with anybody, but don't play games. Don't play games with this president's in office, because it's not going to turn out well. And so I hope that, I guess that lesson was learned last night, and we hope it'll be instructive moving forward.
Mr. President.
Mr. President. Mr. President.
Mr. President.
You said that the U.S. is going to run Venezuela, so who's in power right now?
Well, we're going to be running it with a group, and we're going to make sure it's run properly. We're going to rebuild the oil infrastructure, which will cost billions of dollars. It'll be paid for by the oil companies directly. They will be reimbursed for what they're doing, but it's going to be paid. And we're going to get the oil flowing the way it should be. As you know, it was just a minor flow. It was actually a minor flow for what they have. But we're going to run it properly. We're going to make sure the people of Venezuela are taken care of. We're going to make sure the people that were forced out of Venezuela by this thug are also taken care of.
Mr. President.
Mr. President, does the U.S. running the country mean that U.S. troops will be on the ground? How will that work?
Well, they always say boots on the ground. So we're not afraid of boots on the ground if we have to have. We had boots on the ground last night at a very high level, actually. We're not afraid of it. We don't mind saying it. But we're going to make sure that that country is run properly. We're not doing this in vain. This is a very dangerous attack. This is an attack that could have gone very, very badly. Could have gone very badly. We could have lost a lot of people last night. We could have lost a lot of dignity. We could have lost a lot of equipment. The equipment is less important, but we could have lost a lot. And we're going to make sure that this is proper. We're there now. We're ready to go again if we have to. We're going to run the country right. It's going to be run very judiciously, very fairly. It's going to make a lot of money. We're going to give money to the people. We're going to reimburse people that were taken advantage of. We're going to take care of everybody. It's very important. We couldn't let them get away with it. You know, they stole we built that whole industry there, and they just took it over like we were nothing. And we had a president that decided not to do anything about it. So we did something about it. We're late, but we did something about it. Yeah, please.
Are you explaining the exact mechanism by which you're going to run the country? Are you going to designate a U.S. official to coordinate
It's
things?
all being done right now. We're designating people. We're talking to people. We're designating various people, and we're going to let you know who those people are.
That would run Venezuela.
Well, it's largely going to be for a period of time, and the people that are standing right behind me. We're going to be running it. We're going to be bringing it back. It's a dead, you know, I talk about a dead country. A year and a half ago, we were a dead country. Now we're the hottest country anywhere in the world. We're a country doing better than any country anywhere in the world. And it required leadership. And Venezuela has a lot of bad people in there, a lot of bad people that should be leading. We're not going to take a chance that one of those people take over for Maduro. So you can look at, and others, we have fantastic people, including people in the military. So we're going to have a group of people running it until such time as it can be put back on track, make a lot of money for the people, and give people a great way of life, and also reimbursement for people in our country that were forced out of Venezuela.
The bill would be.
You said earlier today that you weren't going to back Machado to come back and be the opposition leader in your Fox and Friends interview. And then you also mentioned the vice president of Venezuela. Are you going to work with the vice president of Venezuela, or how do you foresee the relationship
Well, I
going?
understand she was just sworn in, but she was, as you know, picked by Maduro. So Marco's working on that directly. Just had a conversation with her, and she's essentially willing to do what we think is necessary to make Venezuela great again. Very simple.
Mr. President, Colombian President Gustavo Petro, a couple weeks ago, he said he's got to watch his ass. And today, he said he's not concerned about anything happening to him in the aftermath of this operation. So, just what your message is
Well,
about
he
that.
has cocaine mills. He has factories where he makes cocaine. And yeah, I think I stick by my first statement. He's making cocaine, they're sending it into the United States. So he does have to watch his ass.
Did he notify its members of Congress in advance?
Marco, do you want to talk about that? Because you were involved.
Sure. We call members of Congress and this was not the kind of mission that you can do congressional notification on. It was a trigger-based mission in which conditions had to be met night after night. We watched and monitored that for a number of days. So it's just simply not the kind of mission you can call people and say, hey, we may do this at some point in the next 15 days. But it's largely a law enforcement function. Remember, at the end of the day, at its core, this was an arrest of 2 indicted fugitives of American justice, and the Department of War supported the Department of Justice in that job. Now, there are broader policy implications here, but it's just not the kind of mission that you can pre-notify because it endangers the mission.
Plus, if I can add one thing to that, Congress has a tendency to leak. This would not be good. If they leaked, General, I think it would have been maybe a very different result. But I have to say, they knew we were coming at some point, you know. A lot of ships out there, they sort of knew we were coming. We weren't. But Congress will leak, and we don't want leakers.
You were one of the only people to watch this all play out live. What was Maduro doing when the U.S. forces entered what I assume would be his home? And also, was there any point where the U.S. was considering if Maduro pushed back or resisted killing Maduro?
It could have happened. It could have happened. He was trying to get into a safe place. You know, the safe place is all steel. And he wasn't able to make it to the door because our guys were so fast. They went through the opposition so fast. And there was a lot of opposition. You know, people were wondering, do we get him by surprise? Sort of surprised, but they were waiting for something. It was a lot of opposition. There was a lot of gunfire. You saw some of it today. But he was trying to get to a safe place, which wasn't safe because we would have had the door blown up in about 47 seconds, they say on average, regardless of how thick the steel was. It was a very thick door. It was a very heavy door, but he was unable to get to that door. He made it to the door, he was unable to close it.
So where's Maduro going to be?
Go ahead, finish.
Where is Maduro going to be in the time being right now? Do you know his exact
Well,
whereabouts?
eventually, ultimately, in the near future, he's gonna be brought to New York.
And where is he going to be held? Where is he going to be held in New York? Do you know?
That's gonna be up to the officials that do these things.
Mr. President, the U.S. has something of a mixed track record of ousting dictators without necessarily a plan for what comes afterwards.
Not with
Did
me.
that weigh on your
Well, that's
decision?
where we had different presidents, but with me, that's not true. With me, we've had a perfect track record of winning. We win a lot, and we win. If you look at Soleimani, you look at al-Baghdadi, you look at the Midnight Hammer. Midnight Hammer was incredible. Right now, you wouldn't have peace in the Middle East. We have essentially peace in the Middle East because of that. If we weren't successful with Midnight Hammer, you wouldn't have peace in the Middle East. So, with me, you've had a lot of victory. You've had only victories. You've had no losses yet.
Mr. President, how long do you expect the U.S. to run Venezuela, and how soon do you want Venezuelan people to hold elections?
So I'd like to do it quickly, but it takes a period of time. You know, we're rebuilding. We have to rebuild their whole infrastructure. The infrastructure is rotted. It's actually very dangerous. It's a blow-up territory. Oil is very dangerous. It's a very dangerous thing to take out of the ground. It can kill a lot of people. It has killed a lot of people doing just that. The infrastructure is old. It's rotted. Much of it is stuff that we put there 25 years ago, and we're going to be replacing it. And we're going to take a lot of money out so that we can take care of the country.
Mr. President, China, Russia, and Iran have interests in Venezuela. How does this operation affect your relationships with them?
Well,
when
in
it comes
terms
to
of
oil
China and Russia, Russia when we get things straightened out, but in terms of other countries that want oil, we're in the oil business. We're going to sell it to them. We're not going to say we're not going to get it. In other words, we'll be selling oil probably in much larger doses because they couldn't produce very much because their infrastructure was so bad. So we'll be selling large amounts of oil to other countries, many of whom are using it now, but I would say many more will come.
Are you saying that, Mr. President, are
Go
you
ahead,
saying that?
Bianca.
Oh,
Mr. President, thank you. What is your message to the people of Venezuela today? Of course, the civilian population specifically, they have a lot of questions. What is your message to the people of
That
Venezuela?
you're going to have peace, justice, you're going to have some of the riches that you should have had for a long period of time was stolen from you. But you're going to have peace and you're going to have safety, you're going to have justice, you're going to have a country, you're going to have a real country, you're going to have potentially a great country. You know, if you go back 20 years, maybe even a little longer ago, that was a great country and they destroyed it. Remember I said that if we lose this election, the United States will be Venezuela on steroids. That's what would have happened. Had we lost the election, the 2024 election, we suffered so badly when you look at the border from 2020, what they did, what Joe Biden administration did to our country should never be forgotten. But if we had to go through another year of that, we would be exactly where Venezuela was in terms of, I used to say, if they win, we're going to be Venezuela on steroids, and that's what would have happened.
President, thank you. Are you saying that Secretary Hegseth and Rubio are going to be running Venezuela, and will you be sending in U.S. military
They're going
troops
to be
to
a
provide?
team that's working with the people of Venezuela to make sure that we have Venezuela right. Because for us to just leave, who's going to take over? I mean, there is nobody to take over. You have a vice president who's been appointed by Maduro, and right now she's the vice president, and she's, I guess, the president. She was sworn in as president just a little while ago. She had a long conversation with Marco, and she said, we'll do whatever you need. I think she was quite gracious, but she really doesn't have a choice. We're going to have this done right. We're not going to just do this with Maduro, then leave like everybody else, leave and say, let it go to hell. If we just left, it has zero chance of ever coming back. We'll run it properly, we'll run it professionally, we'll have the greatest oil companies in the world go in and invest billions and billions of dollars and take out money, use that money in Venezuela. And the biggest beneficiary are going to be the people of Venezuela. And also, I can't stress this strongly enough, the people that got thrown out of Venezuela, that are now in the United States, and frankly, some want to stay and some probably want to go back, yeah.
What have you done to protect Americans in the country, and were any of the detained Americans?
Well, right now, they're
arrested?
very protected because nobody's gonna mess with us. They're very protected. The people, and we let them know that you better not touch one of them.
Why are you concerned that bad elements of the Maduro regime will remain in place?
Well, we know who they are. We're on them, and they're acting much differently now than they would have acted 2 days ago. Okay, wait, behind you, please.
Mr. President, why is running a country in South America America first?
Well, I think it is because we want to surround ourselves with good neighbors. We want to surround ourselves with stability. We want to surround ourselves with energy. We have tremendous energy in that country. It's very important that we protect it. We need that for ourselves. We need that for the world. And we want to make sure we can protect it. Yes, sir, please, go ahead.
Is there a message here for Cuba and Diaz-Canel?
Well, Cuba's an interesting case. Cuba is, not doing very well right now. That system has not been a very good one for Cuba. The people there have suffered for many, many years. And I think Cuba is going to be something we'll end up talking about because Cuba is a failing nation right now, very badly failing nation. And we want to help the people. It's very similar in the sense that we want to help the people in Cuba, but we want to also help the people that were forced out of Cuba and living in this country. Do you want to say something about that, Marco, please?
Well, I mean, I just gave you a statement a few minutes ago about, when the president speaks, you should take him seriously. Suffice it to say, Cuba it's run by incompetent, senile men, and in some cases, not senile, but incompetent nonetheless. It has no economy. It's in total collapse. And by the way, they were, all the guards that helped protect Maduro, this is well known, their whole spy agency, all that were full of Cubans. I mean, it's amazing. This poor island took over Venezuela in some cases. One of the biggest problems Venezuelans have is they have to declare independence from Cuba. They tried to basically colonize it from a security standpoint. So, yeah, look, if I lived in Havana and I was in the government, I'd be concerned, at least a little bit. Well, the president already announced a week ago that anything that's sanctioned, it's sanctioned oil, it's not going to be allowed to get there. So that's an increase.
The answer is yes. Yes.
The location of opposition leader Machado, and have you been in contact with her?
No, we haven't.
Mr. President, on Monday.
Well, I think it would be very tough for her to be the leader. She doesn't have the support within, or the respect within the country. She's a very nice woman, but she doesn't have the respect.
Mr. President, is it possible that the U.S. ends up administrating Venezuela for years?
Well, it won't cost us anything because the money coming out of the ground is very substantial, so it's not going to cost us anything. We want safety there. We want to be surrounded by countries that aren't housing all of our enemies all over the world. That's what was happening, and you don't want to have that. But we're going to be rebuilding, and we're not spending money. The oil companies are going to go in. They're going to spend money. We're going to take back the oil that, frankly, we should have taken back a long time ago. A lot of money is coming out of the ground. We're going to get reimbursed for all of that. We're going to get reimbursed for everything that we spend. So it's going to be a very important. This is a very big evening that took place last night. We have to be surrounded by safe, secure countries, and we also have to have energy. Very important. We have to have energy that's real energy, not where they're getting 4% and 5% of the energy out of the ground. You take a look, it was such a disaster. So what's going to happen with Venezuela, I think, over the next period of a year is going to be a great thing. And the people of Venezuela will be the biggest beneficiaries.
Military. Thank you. What did you last speak to Maduro about when you spoke? And is the
Well, I don't want to get into the conversations, but I did have conversations with him, and I said, you got to surrender. And I actually thought he was pretty close to doing so, but now he wished he did, yeah.
Mr. President, can you explain, you said that Maduro is responsible for drug trafficking. You recently pardoned the former president of Honduras who was convicted of many drug trafficking. Can you explain how these two situations are different? And would you ever pardon Maduro?
I endorsed, as you know, the winning president, the man who won in Honduras. I endorsed the man who won in Chile. I endorsed the man who won in Argentina. And we are doing very well with that whole group. What the man that I pardoned was if you could equate it to us, he was treated like the Biden administration treated a man named Trump. That didn't work out too well for them. This was a man who was persecuted very unfairly. He was the head of the country. He was persecuted very unfairly. And there are a number of them. And we felt that it was a very unfair situation that happened to him. He's also a party member of the man who won. So obviously the people liked what I did. And one of the reasons that was done is because of the fact that the party in power felt very strongly that that man was treated very badly. I studied it very quickly, and then I studied it in great detail. I went to a lot of the people standing behind me, and they felt that that man was persecuted and treated very badly. That's why I gave him a pardon.
You referenced boots on the ground earlier. Can you just sort of button this up? Do you envision the U.S. military having a presence in Venezuela as the U.S. runs that
Well,
country?
no, we're going to have a presence in Venezuela as it pertains to oil, because we have to have, we're sending our expertise in. So you may need something, not very much. But no, we're going to be taking out a tremendous amount of wealth out of the ground. And that wealth is going to the people of Venezuela and people from outside of Venezuela that used to be in Venezuela. And it goes also to the United States of America in the form of reimbursement for the damages caused us by that country. So I want to thank you all very much. Thank you. Do you have one? Yes, please. You were so nice before. I'm going to give you the final question. Go
Thank
ahead.
you, Mr.
Unless it's a bad question, in
It's
which
about
case
Putin.
I'll go one more.
It's about Putin, if you want to.
About Putin. Well, that's
Okay,
always nice.
you had a phone, you had a phone call with him
Yeah.
on Monday. Did he talk at all about Maduro? Did y'all talk about this?
No, we didn't.
And
We
then-
never spoke about Maduro.
Are you mad at him right now? I mean, there's this
I'm not
intelligence.
thrilled with Putin. I'm not thrilled with Putin. He's killing too many people.
There was that
I
intelligence.
thought that would be, so I settled 8 1/4 war. You know what the 1/4 was? Thailand and Cambodia. I did it again. They broke out, and I did it in about 5 hours, and I settled it. I'm giving myself 1/4, so I'm up to now 8 1/4. In other words, I settled the war, but then they broke out. They had a pretty bad breakout over the last 4 days. I got them to go back to peace. So I only give 1/4. I thought the easiest one would be, one of the easier ones would be Russia, Ukraine. It's not. And they both have done some pretty bad things. And look, that's Biden's war. That's not my war. But I want to stop the lives. Did you see where last month, 30,000, it was 27,000 the month before. 30,000, mostly soldiers, were killed this last month. 30,000. I want to stop that. You know, I got NATO to pay 5% instead of the 2% that they weren't paying. They weren't paying 2, now they pay 5. And we send them a lot of munitions, we send them a lot of things, missiles and various other things, a lot. And they pay. The United States is not losing money. We're probably making money on that. It's the last thing I care about. I just want to stop all those people. We're losing 25, 30,000 human beings. They come from 2 places that are very far away. But if I can stop, because it's something I've been pretty good at doing, deals, I guess, it's all a deal. Life is a big deal. But if I can stop that war and stop 30,000 young people, in addition to the fact that people are being killed in Kiev, people are being killed in other cities, you know, a much smaller number, but they're being killed, viciously killed. So I'm not happy about it. I thought that would be something that would get solved. We have Mr. Witkoff here. I think that we're making progress, but that's a war that should have never happened. If I were president, it would have never happened. Putin says it, everybody says it. If I were president, that would have never happened. But I inherited that war. That was Joe Biden, Zelensky, and Putin. I came into the situation, and it's a mess. And I will say this, I watched an operation last night that was so precise, that was so brilliant. I mean, it was incredible. If we had our people, like this general and our people involved, that war would not have gone on very long, that I can tell you. That war, to use an old term, that war has become a bloodbath, and we want it to get stopped. Thank you very much.
Take over the country.
Can you talk about your conversation with the Vice President?
You can earn a degree in today's hottest fields, anywhere, anytime. Take an online course at no cost and get comfortable with online learning. Learn more today.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. We had a very good conversation 1 hour ago with the European leaders, many of them involving the war with Russia and Ukraine. We had a long discussion, and things are seemingly going well, but we've been saying that for a long time, and it's a difficult one. We had, as you know, settled 8 wars, and one was having a little problem yesterday, Thailand and Cambodia. We were able to straighten that out. There's some killing going on that shouldn't have happened. We appreciate them working to get it straightened out, and they have. The security protocols yesterday were amazing, and they have been amazing, having to do with Russia and Ukraine. And I had a long talk with President Zelensky. Also, I spoke with the heads of Germany, Italy, NATO, Finland, France, the United Kingdom, Poland, Norway, Denmark, and the Netherlands. We had very long and very good talks. And again, I think things are going along pretty well. 27,000 soldiers were killed last month. Shouldn't happen. Should have never happened. Should have never started. That war should have never ever started. But it did, and we're trying to get it solved. That was Biden's situation. We're trying to get it done. And I think we're closer now, and they will tell you that they're closer now. We had numerous conversations with President Putin of Russia, and I think we're closer now than we have been ever. And we'll see what we can do. We want to save a lot of lives. You know, we sell equipment to NATO. We don't spend any money, but we do want to see if we can save a lot of lives. When you're losing 25,000 to 30,000 soldiers, mostly soldiers, other people too, from towns, and like places like Kiev, various other places throughout Ukraine, it's pretty bad. Nobody's seen anything like it, actually, since World War II. But we're getting closer. We're having tremendous support from European leaders. They want to get it ended also. And at this moment, Russia wants to get it ended. The problem is they'll want to get it ended, and then all of a sudden they won't. And Ukraine will want to get it ended, and all of a sudden they won't. So we have to get them on the same page. But I think that's working along. Very good talk. On day 1 of my administration, I signed an executive order making it a core mission of the United States military to protect and defend the homeland. And today, we're here to honor our military men and women for their central role in the protection of our border, something that I campaigned very, very strongly on. And they made me look really good. They're unbelievable. They made us all look good. I mean, we went from having millions of people pouring over our border to having none in the last 8 months, none. In a few moments, we'll officially recognize their service by awarding them the Mexican Border Defense Medal, which is a big deal. We're joined for this occasion by Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, Attorney General Pam Bondi, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, General Dan Kane, Commander of U.S. Northern Command, General Gregory Gio, Commander of the Southern Border Task Force, Major General Scott Noman, Command Sergeant Major Brett Johnson of the U.S. Army's 10th Mountain Division, Administrator of the Drug Enforcement Agency, Terry Cole, and many other members of our administration who have done an incredible job on the border. You know, people forget now that the border has been secure for actually 7 months, think of it, more. And they don't mention the border anymore. Nobody talks about the border. They talk about affordability, and we're the ones that are bringing the prices down. We were given the worst inflation in our country's history, and we're bringing the prices down. But the affordability is on the Democrats because they have made it unaffordable to be in this country, but we're bringing those prices down, and they're coming down quickly. Energy is coming way down, and if you look Gasoline prices are hitting in many locations $1.99 a gallon. Nobody thought they'd see that. There were $4, $5, and $6 a gallon under Biden. In the 4 years before I took office, our southern border was surrendered to criminals, drug cartels, human traffickers, and child smugglers. Our entire southwest border on the Mexican side is under the physical control of cartels that are among the most violent entities nobody's ever seen anywhere on the planet. The most violent people on the planet. Remember when the Democrats and others, the radical left, used to say that the people they're allowing into our country, immigrants, are nice people. They're not violent like our people. Well, they make our people look like babies. These are some of the most violent criminals anywhere on earth from many countries, not just Venezuela. Venezuela emptied their jails into our country, but others have also. The Congo has. So many other countries have. And we don't put up with it. I have to say the drugs coming in by sea are down 94%. And we're trying to figure out who the other 6% are. But they're down 94%, and we're going to start hitting them on land, which is a lot easier to do, frankly. But these are a direct military threat to the United States of America. They're trying to drug out our country. And you can look throughout history. Look at China when they were loaded up with drugs. They were suffering greatly, and others were able to take them over. And other countries also. They're trying to drug out our country, and we're reversing it rapidly, actually. But with the help of our great service members, we've stopped the invasion in its tracks, and we're dismantling the cartels very rapidly. And they are being declared enemies of the United States of America. They have been so declared, legally declared. More than 25,000 warriors have served in this historic operation. It is indeed an incredible and historic operation. And we've never done anything so effectively, and we've had a lot of victories. They've spent night and day enduring scorching hot and bitter cold, and they've given up their holidays and their weekends working with the officers of Customs and Border Protection. Our armed forces have already conducted nearly 13,000 patrols along the border, and today we give these great warriors the recognition that they have earned, and they have really earned it. The military component of our border security efforts is just the beginning. We're also designating the drug cartels as foreign terrorist organizations, a big deal from a legal standpoint and military standpoint. We've ended catch and release, and we endured and ensured that anyone who sets foot across our border illegally is intercepted, arrested, and immediately deported, or if they're really bad, they're put into prison because we don't want to ever take a chance to come back. As a result, illegal border crossings have plummeted to the lowest level ever recorded in the history of our country. Think of that. The history of our country. You can all be very proud. For the past 7 months, 0 illegal aliens have been admitted to the United States of America. We inherited the worst border in the history of our country, one of the worst borders, I would say, in the world. I can't imagine any border in the world being worse, when they allowed 25 million people to come in. And again, many of these people are gang members and from prisons and jails, from mental institutions and insane asylums. And some of the worst people on earth they allowed to come into our country. We're getting a lot of them out. We've made a big dent. And the self-deportation is something nobody talks about, but literally millions of people are self-deporting because they don't want to be captured. Once they're captured, they don't have the chance to self-deport. They never have the chance to come back into our country. We inherited that border from an incompetent administration and turned it into the strongest border in the history of our country. So we took the worst border in the history of our country, and in a period of 2 months, we turned it into the strongest border in the history of our country. During this time, we've also achieved a 50% drop in the amount of fentanyl coming across the border, and China's working with us very closely and bringing down the number and the amount of fentanyl that's being shipped. You know, fentanyl is very bad when you mix it with certain ingredients, but it also is very important for medicine, for anesthesias, various other things. I want people to understand that. It's not made necessarily for bad. When it's mixed with certain things, it becomes bad. And that's what's taking place in Mexico. And we've got it down to a much lower number, not satisfactory, but it will be satisfactory soon. In May, we executed the largest fentanyl bust in the history of the U.S., seizing 3 million fentanyl pills all at one time. Think of that, 3 million pills. It's amounted to billions of dollars worth of drugs. And last month, we seized another 1.7 million fentanyl pills in the state of Colorado, the poorly run state of Colorado, with a governor who's incompetent. And frankly, with a governor that won't allow our wonderful Tina to come out of a jail, in a high-intensity jail, because she caught people cheating on an election, and they said she was cheating. She wasn't cheating. She went over, she looked at one of the election scams going on, and because she did that, they put her in jail for 9 years. The governor of Colorado is a weak and pathetic man who was run by Tren de Aragua. The criminals from Venezuela took over sections of Colorado, and he was afraid to do anything. But he puts Tina in jail for 9 years because she caught people cheating. And when she walked over and got involved in it, they said she was cheating. She wasn't cheating. She caught people cheating on the election, 2020, along with a lot of other people that cheated on that election. You'll see that coming out more and more. But there's no doubt that America's adversaries are trafficking fentanyl into the United States, in part because they want to kill Americans. If this were a war, that would be one of the worst wars. I believe they killed, over the last 5 or 6 years, per year, 200 to 300,000 people. You hear about 100,000, which is a lot of people, but the number is much higher than that. That's been proven. And they've destroyed a lot of families. Because when they lose a child, or even if their child is heavily addicted, you lose that family. The family will never be the same. That's why today I'm taking one more step to protect Americans from the scourge of deadly fentanyl flooding into our country. With this historic executive order I will sign today, we're formally classifying fentanyl as a weapon of mass destruction, which is what it is. No bomb does what this is doing. 200 to 300,000 people die every year that we know of. So we're formally classifying fentanyl as a weapon of mass destruction. But before I sign the fentanyl order, we will pin these great service members with their medals. And here today are the first 13 warriors who will receive the Mexican Border Defense Medal, which is a big deal. First, I'd like to ask Secretary Hegseth and Chairman Kane to say a few words. I'd like to have Tom Homan come up, please, if you would, say a few words. And I want to thank all of the people, Pam and everybody, Stephen Miller, great Stephen Miller, what a job he's doing, for being here. Thank you both, appreciate it very much. We have so many great people here. But I do want to ask Tom to say a few words also. So Pete, why don't you start it off, please?
Feeling healthy by leaps and bounds. Making a dinner that makes their whole day. And giving your best friend the best nutrients for their best life. Science did that.
We are home to the curious, the problem solvers, the ones who say, why not? ASU has been ranked #1 for innovation. Again. The only school to hold the top spot since the category was created. If you have the drive and determination, you'll be right at home here, where the tech is cutting edge. Researchers break new ground, fueling the economy. And our students are future ready.
Mr. President, thank you. I would echo what you said. This has been a team effort from the beginning. Tom Homan, Terry Cole, Stephen Miller, Pam Bondi, Christy Nome, Customs and Border Patrol, Protection. It has been one team, one mission to get 100% operational control of the southern border. You want to talk about America first, peace through strength and common sense? It all manifests in one basic phrase down there. Border security is national security. And we had the task of 100% control, and because of these men and women back here, we've achieved that. Nobody is crossing the southern border. And I want to give a big shout out to our Northern Command, General Guillot. From day one, our department didn't look at the border this way before you. Joe Biden allowed an invasion of this country. Tens of millions of people, drugs, gangs, violence, and the military jumped to it on day one with our partners. But ultimately, it was incredible Americans. There's 13 up here with us today. They all represent about 2,000 people who've served at the border so far. So 25,000 Americans qualify for this Mexican National Defense Border medal that we're announcing today. And what's cool about this medal, it was actually first given out in 1918. So we're reviving an old medal that existed, was given to men and women who defended the southern border. We found out about it. We used the exact same foundry with the exact same imagery, same color, same medal, same everything. So our men and women will be wearing that very same medal as Americans 100 years before who were asked to defend the sovereignty of our country. President Trump was elected to do that. You have done that, Mr. President. We're proud of this mission. We're proud to defend the American people. And pinning these medals on is an example of how important it is to us. So thank you, Mr. President. Appreciate it.
Well, Mr. President, Mr. Secretary, I want to echo your thanks and gratitude for the Joint Force. I also want to highlight General Guillot, General Nauman, and Command Sergeant Major Johnson, but also leaders at every level that came together, not just in our joint force, but in the interagency. And I want to specifically highlight our Border Patrol teammates and our Office of Air and Marine teammates who, when I went down to the southern border and visited, were right there next to the joint force. I also want to thank not just these 13 individuals, but the joint force that was also down there and your families who poured in to make this deployment possible on the southern border. And of course, this time of the year, I'm always thinking about our currently deployed forces who are out there around the world doing our nation's business. And of course, our fallen and their families who show us what courage and tenacity really are as they move forward after the loss of a service member. So thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
You know, it's always an honor for me to be in the Oval Office with the greatest president of my lifetime. Yes, I said it, and I meant it. You know, I just got home last night. I toured the border in California, Arizona, and Texas. I did it in a four-wheel drive. I did it on the river. I did it from the air. Hundreds upon hundreds of miles of border. I didn't see one illegal alien. Not a single one. I've done this since 1984. I worked for 6 different presidents. No one's done more than President Trump. What he has done is gave us the most secure border in the history of this nation. Hard to stop. I went hundreds of miles of border and didn't see one illegal alien. Incredible, considering the Biden administration, we had 10, 12,000 a day, most released in the United States. I'm proud to be with these patriots behind me. I'm already proud to be in the Oval Office of the President, but being with these heroes. I met some of these soldiers down on the border. And actually, a shout out to Fort Drum, New York. We got some 10th Mountain Division here, so at least upon it, Claudia Tennant, we all love Fort Drum and the 10th Mountain. So look, this is a game changer. I want to make something perfectly clear, because we get attacked all the time being inhumane. The Biden administration is much more humane. It's a bunch of crap. Because there's been studies done that 31% of women that make that journey through the cartels get sexually assaulted. They get raped. And not just the women, children too. I've done numerous investigations in that. Sex trafficking was at historic highs with an open border. Fentanyl, historic highs that killed 250,000 Americans. No inspector terrorists that came across the border. Record, historic. What happened under the Biden administration was the most inhumane thing I've seen in my lifetime. Now that the border is 96% decline, 96% less people are coming, how many women aren't being raped? How many children aren't dying making that journey? How many women and children aren't being sex trafficked into this country every day? How many known suspected terrorists aren't just walking across that border? President Trump and this administration is saving thousands of lives every month. Hard stop. I'm just proud to be a part of this. I work with Steve Miller every day. Steve Miller is one of the most brilliant people I've met in my entire life. President Trump brought together one hell of a team here, and the success proved. We all working together, one team, one fight. We're not done yet. We're going to keep going, and I guarantee you we're going to continue saving thousands and thousands of lives. Secure border means strong national security. Secure border saves lives. Thank you.
Okay, let's do the medals, and I'll be signing this. Maybe you'll do the medals first, and then I'll sign. Okay? Please. It's not bad. Great job. Great job, fellas. No auto pen. None, ever. We don't like auto pens, right? We don't like auto pens. How about gathering around me and we'll hold this up. Congratulations, it's an amazing job. Come on around, come on around. Let's take a good picture. Fantastic job. You guys, fantastic job. Thank you very much. Great job. Thank you, Mr. President. Great job. What you've done is unprecedented. How about holding that up? You guys hold it up. Hold it up. You deserve it more than me. So I'm going to give you another medal, though, that may be more beautiful. I'm not sure it means as much, but it's really good, okay? This is gun medal. This is the one the military loves. So we're going to start, okay? Thank you. Here you go. It's pretty nice. Want to compare it? Let me see, compare it. Let me see how that looks. I don't know. That looks pretty good. But that means something very special. Thank you. Thanks, Mr. President. You do what you can do, tie it around your neck. It's a nice ribbon. I think you'll like it. It's special. We don't give it to many people. Come on over here, come here. Look at this guy. That's the man to be in heaven. That's 4 sides up big. Hey, General, come on over here, even though you have one. I gave him one. This general right here, General Raisin gave. He's a great general. Thanks very much. Well, thank you very much, everybody. It's an honor. This is a fantastic moment. I haven't done this before. And the job they've done on the border is unthinkable. What they left us with, that they would have open borders with millions of people, 25 million people probably going to that, pouring into our border, totally unchecked and unvetted. Now we have the opposite. And we want people in our country, but they have to come in legally. And they know that, and they know they're not getting through, so now they don't even try. So all of the death that Tom Holman talks about, the rape and the death and all the problem doesn't really happen because the caravans, the name I think I came up with, maybe not, but the caravans are very small. In fact, for the most part, they don't even exist anymore because they know they're not going to get through. In a little while, you'll be seeing, I'm suing the BBC for putting words in my mouth, literally, they put words in my mouth. They had me saying things that I never said coming out. I guess they used AI or something. So we'll be bringing that lawsuit. A lot of people are asking, when are you bringing that lawsuit? Even the media can't believe that one. They actually put terrible words in my mouth having to do with January 6th that I didn't say. And the beautiful words that I said, right? The beautiful words. Talking about patriotism and all of the good things that I said, they didn't say that, but they put terrible words. They actually have me speaking with words that I never said, and they got caught because I believe somebody at BBC said, this is so bad, it has to be reported. It's called fake news. So we'll be filing that suit probably this afternoon or tomorrow morning. I want to thank all of you for being here. If you have any questions, I guess you could ask, but this is really a day of celebration for these people. The job they've done is really unprecedented. So go ahead.
Brown University, Mr. President, do you know what the motive of the shooter was? Was it a targeted attack?
That's moving along now, and we don't, and we're going to see what happens. Hopefully they're going to capture this animal. Hopefully they're going to capture it.
Has Kash Patel told you why it's been so difficult for the FBI to identify who the shooter is?
Well, it's always difficult. So far, we've done a very good job of doing it with Charlie, with, the various times this has happened. They've done it in pretty much record time. But you really have to ask the school a little bit more about that because, this was a school problem. They had their own guards, they had their own police, they had their own everything, but you'd have to ask that question really to the school, not to the FBI. We came in after the fact, and the FBI will do a good job, but they came in after the fact.
Do you know if it was targeted, Mr. President?
No, they don't know that yet, no.
Sir, on the issue of drugs, is it accurate that you are considering an executive order to reclassify marijuana under the...
We are considering that, yeah.
Are you planning...
Because a lot of people want to see it, the reclassification, because it leads to tremendous amounts of research that can't be done unless you reclassify. So we are looking at that very strongly.
Mr. President?
Mr. President,
Katie?
is it true that the reports that you rebuked the Israeli Prime Minister, are the reports that you rebuked the Israeli Prime Minister for the hit on the Hamas general true? And is Israel undermining your efforts to be a peacemaker?
No, Israel and I have gotten along very well. My relationship with Bibi Netanyahu has been obviously a very good one. Look, we took out Iran. We wiped out, with that plane right there, we wiped out the B-2 bomber. We wiped out the Iran nuclear threat. And because of that, we were able to make peace in the Middle East. No, we've had a very good relationship with Israel. We actually have a very good relationship with just about everybody in the Middle East.
Violation of the ceasefire, the strike on the Hamas general?
We're going to have to, we're looking into that. Yeah, we're looking into it.
On the Syria handbook of U.S. forces, do you still have confidence in the Syrian president?
I do. I mean, this had nothing to do with him. This is a part of Syria that they really don't have much control over. And it was a surprise. He feels very badly about it. He's working on it. He's a strong man. And no, this had nothing to do with the Syrian government. This had to do with ISIS.
What will the U.S. response be?
As a response, they'll be hit hard, yeah.
Javier Negre, Real America's Voice on Español. First of all, thanks for honoring these heroes. The communists have lost Chile, the pro-Trump candidate, José Antonio Caz, won the elections. Do you think this right-wing wave in the Hispanic world is due to your influence?
Well, we just had a good one in Honduras, as you know, and a great election there. I endorsed somebody that was not leading, and he won the election. And we had a good one just a little couple of hours ago. I found out in Chile, the person I endorsed, who was not leading, ended up winning quite easily. So I look forward to paying my respects to him. I hear he's a very good person. Yeah.
President, thank you, Mr. President. This year you fired Democrats from a number of federal agencies, and now going into 2026, there are some key regulators like the SEC, the CFTC that are going to have 0 Democrats. Do you plan to appoint Democrats to fill those empty spots, or do you think that federal agencies shouldn't have Democrat commissioners?
Well, do you think they would be appointing Republicans if it were up to them? So, we'll look at it. Look, we want to be fair, but typically they're not appointing Republicans. So you're asking me the question whether or not I'd appoint Democrats. But there are certain areas that we do look at, and there are certain areas that we do share power. And I'm open to that, please.
Mr. President, a number of Republicans have denounced your statement on Truth Social after the murder of Rob Reiner. Do you stand by that post?
Well, I wasn't a fan of his at all. He was a deranged person as far as Trump is concerned. He said he knew it was false. In fact, it's the exact opposite, that I was a friend of Russia, controlled by Russia. It was the Russia hoax. He was one of the people behind it. I think he hurt himself in career-wise. He became like a deranged person, Trump derangement syndrome. So I was not a fan of Rob Reiner at all, in any way, shape, or form. I thought he was very bad for our country, yeah.
Mr. President, Leader Thune doesn't seem like he wants to get rid of blue slips. Will there be consequences for the Senate?
Well, I think they should get rid of blue slips because as a Republican president, I am unable to put anybody in office having to do with U.S. attorneys or having to do with judges. In other words, if you have one, not two, you don't need two, just one. If you have one Democrat senator, well, we have a lot of them. You have one Democrat senator in a state, it is not possible to appoint, because of blue slips, a judge. It's not possible to appoint the U.S. attorney. You see that happening. And I think it's a disgrace. I think blue slips are a disgrace. They've long since, they should not be relevant anymore. This is a different world than it was 15, 20 years ago. That was a gentleman and gentlewoman world. This is a little bit different, unfortunately. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, what do you want to see Congress do this week as it relates to health care and the expiring ACA?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'd like to see the people get the money. I'd like to see all of the money that's going to the Democrat insurance companies. The insurance companies are making a fortune. They're up 1,700% and more. And they're taking in hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars, even trillions of dollars. And Obamacare gives you terrible health care. Just so you understand, Obamacare was set up, and I said it right from the beginning, for the benefit of the health insurance companies. They're making billions and billions of dollars. Their stock is through the roof. I don't want to give them anything. I want all money going to the people and let the people buy their own health care. It'll be unbelievable. They'll do a great job. They'll get much better health care at a much lower cost.
Catalina Crunch Granola, protein-powered snackable satisfaction.
Oh, check it out. You can make picks right here on Underdog. Pick higher or lower on your favorite players. Choose from all the best stats. You name it, Underdog's got it all. Get them right, you win. It's that easy. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Download the app and start playing now. Oh, new customers get $75 in bonus entries when you make your first $5 play, all on Underdog. Yo, you can make picks right here on Underdog. Pick higher or lower on your favorite players. Get them right, you win. It's that easy. Oh, new customers get $75 in bonus entries when you make your first $5 play, all on Underdog.
there exactly what you laid out, and they wouldn't have to worry about Democrats' votes.
Well, that or knock out the filibuster. If you knocked out the filibuster, it would all go away, but we have a few people that wouldn't do that. It's crazy. Look, we should knock out the filibuster. And if you did that, we'd get voter ID, you'd have no mail-in voting, all things that make our elections dishonest, and you'd get a lot of other things having not even to do with voting. But Republicans should knock out the filibuster, and we should approve a lot of things. You wouldn't have January 30th looming, because you have the 30th of January looming, you know that, right? And if we knocked out the filibuster, it would be just a simple approval. But you have some Republicans that they're unable to explain why. If you ask them why, they're unable to explain it. They cannot win the debate. But they should knock out the filibuster. And frankly, they should get rid of the blue slips too, yeah.
Mr. President, the Democrats from Miami, where you won the election 1 year ago, do you think it's because of Hispanic media like Telemundo that are publishing fake news about the ICE operations? How do you plan to win back those votes for midterms?
Yeah, well, I won that whole election. And, it's interesting. When I'm not running, we don't do as well. And I'm going to try and get that changed for the midterms. But we did have a big win in Tennessee, as you know. Matt Van Epps had a big win in Tennessee against a very strong candidate, attractive candidate, who a lot of people thought would do very well, and Matt won by a lot, and I won Tennessee by a real lot. We had a great election. We won every single swing state. We won the popular vote. We won everything, and there's a thing that they have now, districts, which is a big deal. I think in a way it's the most important stat from the standpoint of, looking at numbers accurately. So out of thousands of districts, I won 2,750 versus 525. Think of that, 2,750 versus 525. It was great. That's why the map, when you see a map of the election, it's all red, other than two little narrow lines on the other side, please.
Jimmy Lai was convicted today in Hong Kong. Do you have any reactions?
I feel so badly. I spoke to President Xi about it, and I asked to consider his release. He's not well. He's an older man, and he's not well. So I did put that request out. We'll see what happens. Okay? Yeah, thanks, Katie.
Question about Ukraine. Now that the meetings in Berlin have wrapped up with Zelensky, is there a timetable for going to Moscow? Is a delegation going?
Well, I think that the delegation is largely there right now, actually. They're in Europe, and they met with those people that I called out before, the various countries, plus some others. They want to see it end, Katie. They want to see it end. I want to see it end. They want to see it end. I actually think that President Putin wants to see it end. I've had good talks. We've had good talks with Russia, and I think they'd like to get back to a more normal way of life.
Mr. President, follow up there. An Article 5 deal seems to be emerging without NATO membership for Ukraine. If such a security guarantee is offered, what incentive is there for Ukraine to give up any sort of territory?
Well, look, you have, they've already lost the territory, to be honest. I mean, the territory is lost. But in terms of security guarantee, we're working with Europe on it. Europe would be a big part of that. And we're working on the security guarantee so the war doesn't start up again. We don't want to have a war start up again. As I said, with Thailand and Cambodia, two people I get along with great. And I dealt with them, and I called them, and I said, look, fellas, you got to relax. You got to take it easy. They lost. They started the war again. I got it ended. And things like that are going to happen. War. There's nothing pretty about war. Nothing good, and there's nothing you can do to predict what's going to happen. But I think we've made a lot of progress with respect to Russia and Ukraine. I hope. Last month it was close to 27,000 soldiers were killed, mostly soldiers, but 27,000 people, but mostly soldiers were killed last month in Russia versus Ukraine.
Time limit on security guarantees?
Well, there's no time limit. The time limit is whenever we get it done. We're going to try to get it done. We're making progress. It's more difficult than anybody could have thought. I would have said that half of the wars that I got settled, some were going for over 30 years, that half of them should have been more difficult, and they actually haven't been. There's a lot of dislike between the two leaders, you know that, and so it probably makes it a little bit tough.
Have you spoken directly to Putin? Have you recently spoken directly to Putin?
Yeah, I have.
On Syria, Mr. President, on the U.S. troops killed in Syria over the weekend, why do we have troops in Syria?
Because we're trying to make sure that there's going to be and remain peace in the Middle East, and Syria is a big part of it. The new leader is a strong person, and that's what you need. This is a rough part of the world, and it's been amazing what's taken place in Syria. We got rid of Assad, we got rid of other people that were really bad people, and that were in the way of peace in the Middle East. You know, we have legitimate peace in the Middle East, first time in 3,000 years, and we have 59 countries backing it. And we'll see what happens with Hamas, we'll see what happens with Hezbollah, but regardless, I mean, we have countries that want to go in and clean that out if we want them to do it. But they said, in the case of Hamas, they said that they're going to disarm, and we're going to find out whether or not that's true. Hezbollah in Lebanon has been a problem. We'll see what happens there. But there is legitimate, large-scale peace in the Middle East. And if there weren't, we wouldn't have been able to make all of those deals that we've made with the various countries. They would have never been able to do that. If, for instance, if Iran, if we didn't, with that B-2 bomber right there on the desk, if we didn't, of which we just ordered a lot more of the newer version, totally stealth. They could not see it. They knew it was coming. They had no idea where it was. It was pretty amazing, actually. Every bomb hit its mark perfectly, despite CNN trying to say differently. They didn't know. They just, hoped. They hoped that we didn't, but turned out that they did. Atomic Energy Commission confirmed it. So did Iran confirm it. They got knocked to hell. But if we didn't knock out their nuclear capability, we would have never had peace in the Middle East, because you would have had a dark cloud hanging over Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, and all the other countries, and they would have never, ever been able to sign an agreement. Yeah, please.
How soon do you expect that international stabilization force to be up and running in Gaza?
I think that it's, in a form, it's already running. In a very strong form, it's already running. But it'll get stronger and stronger, and more countries are coming into it. They're already in. But they'll send any number of troops that I ask them to send. They want to see peace. We have more than 59 countries. We have many countries that aren't even in the Middle East, but they're fairly close to the Middle East. They want to be involved. So it's been pretty amazing.
Mr. President, this week a man named Keone Rodriguez is going to federal prison for creating crypto privacy software. The case was started under the Biden administration, but your DOJ kept it going and secured the conviction. A lot of people in crypto are saying that this man should be pardoned. Are you familiar with the case at all, or would you be interested in
I've heard
looking
about
at
it. I'll look at it. Why, you think he should be pardoned?
Sounds
like it. Sounds like, based on your question.
Many people in the
Rodriguez, we'll look at that, Pam. Okay, let's take a look at it. You'll have to tell me. I don't know anything about it, but we'll take a look.
On Friday?
Yeah, please.
Mr. President, market analysts are calling for a Santa rally. Typically, it's 5 trading days going into Christmas. In the first 2 trading days of January, that's a sign of market optimism. Do you anticipate, along with the historical low gas prices, that continuing into the first quarter?
Well, we've had the greatest stock market in history, Brian. We have a stock market that's gone up 52 times to new highs during a 10-month period, my 10 months. My first 10 months, we set a record. 52 days, we had the highest stock market in history, including a day ago. And I didn't look today. Maybe it's up to that, I don't know. But we had 52 altogether, and there's never been anything like it. And the reason are the tariffs have brought vast amounts of wealth into our country. That countries that have taken our car companies, those car companies are all coming back. The AI is coming at levels that nobody's ever seen before. That's going to be a massive industry. Without the tariffs, we wouldn't have that. Chips are coming in, chip companies are coming in from Taiwan and other places, but mostly from Taiwan, which has almost 100% of the market. And we're now making chips, and we're not paying anything. It's not the CHIPS Act where they give billions of dollars to companies and then they just take the money and they run. That was under Biden. The fact that I set tariffs up and that if they don't make their chips here, they have to pay a big tariff. In order to send them into the US, they have to be here. You know, tariffs really work, in my opinion, almost only in the United States. They've been used against us successfully because we had presidents that had no clue. But tariffs really work. We have taken in hundreds of billions of dollars with tariffs, and more importantly, we've taken in countries and companies where, and even countries have sent their car-making people into the United States in order to avoid paying tariffs. And they'll build a plant and they'll hire our people to make the cars. But we now have, as you know, Toyota just approved $10 billion in manufacturing plants in the United States using our people. Without tariffs, none of that would have happened. Tariffs have given us great national security. There's nothing like what's happened in the last 10 months. Tariffs have given us tremendous national security and tremendous wealth. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Thank you, press.
Freedom isn't free. Your vacation could be discounted. Military and veteran families save up to 25% on cruises to worldwide destinations with the Armed Forces Vacation Club. Sign up for free today and explore the possibilities.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Lehigh Valley. Good morning, Pennsylvania. It's an honor to be with you here and with the Vice President right here at Uline. As your 30th Secretary of Labor, I get to work alongside some incredible people, including your dedicated Congressman, Ryan McKenzie. Let's give him another hand. Nice job. I just want to say, Ryan, you're doing an excellent job. I know that you are fighting tirelessly to support the President's pro-worker agenda, and I cannot thank you enough for that. You know, I actually kicked off my 50-state tour, America at Work, listening right here in Pennsylvania earlier this year as we started with the backbone of American manufacturing for a simple reason. It's important to the President to build the golden age of the American industry. And that starts by hearing how your actions and our actions are impacted daily in Washington, D.C., and how it affects your lives right here at home. President Trump and Vice President Vance understand that too. They trusted me in this role because I promise to listen to the voices of the forgotten working class. I've hit 36 states, and what I'm hearing from coast to coast is a fresh sense of optimism. People are taking pride in their work again, and pride in this country, because they know we have a strong America First leaders back in the White House who finally have their backs. And common sense. Thanks to President Trump and the common sense, did you write my speech? And the common sense policies of this administration, the golden age of America is on the horizon. Under Biden, workers lost over $2,900 in purchasing power as inflation rose faster than wages. But under Trump, inflation is coming down and real wages are back on track to increase by nearly $1,200 after his first full year in office. Trump's deregulatory efforts are saving $180 billion or $2,100 per family of four. And let's not forget the largest tax cut in American history. I was a former member of Congress, and I can tell you that was the biggest piece of legislation they will probably ever vote on in this lifetime. And it's for the support of the working family, the no tax on tips, overtime, and Social Security. And thanks to the working family tax cuts, a family of four in the state of Pennsylvania will see $7
to $11,000 more in take-home pay. That is their money that they earned, and it should stay in their pockets. We're reversing Biden's cost of living disaster that hurt so many working families, dropping of drug prices, gas prices at the lowest in 4 years. Jobs are coming back online, and people are finally getting off the sideline. The labor participation rate is going up. We want more people to be looking for jobs and in the workforce. We just received the jobs numbers this morning. A positive 64,000 jobs were added under this administration. Here's a number to note that I think is very important, and I want you to remember this. And when your next rally, I want you to go say this. Under President Trump, 687,000 jobs have been in the private sector and have gone to native-born Americans. We have a master negotiator in the Oval Office, that shouldn't be a surprise to any of you, who is putting America interests first by striking the new trade deals to restore the U.S. as the world's manufacturing superpower. More than $18 trillion have been committed as investments into this country to hire thousands of new Americans and thousands of new jobs. Made in America is back. U.S. exports are up 6% over the last year, and the trade deficit continues to shrink. President Trump is leveling the playing field for American workers, manufacturers, creating an economy that works for you, not against you. I can tell you, at the Labor Department, we remain laser focused on putting American workers first. Under President Trump, all job gains have, as I mentioned, have gone to American-born workers. Employed today, 2.5 million American workers more than when he took office. The Department of Labor is investing in skills training and educational pathways to help the workers get their foot in the door without that needy 4-year degree. Not everyone will receive a 4-year degree, and that is pride back in America. My dad was a Teamster. I know what it was like to work hard. I know what it's like to build something with your hands, and that's what America needs. They need to know that it's okay to make a 6-figure income with a trade school, be a tradesman or woman, be a craftsman. That's what we want here in America. You all know that the future of this country won't be forged in the halls of these woke universities. It'll be at the hands of the skilled worker. We recently awarded $86 million in industry skills funds to prepare the American worker for those in-demand jobs of the future. President Trump set a goal. I talk about this all the time. 1 million active apprentices across this country. And since he has taken office, we have registered more than 300,000 new active apprentices and registered over 2,400 new programs at the Department of Labor. You know, I partnered with Secretary McMahon to help administer the CTE programs and create a streamlined federal education and workforce system. Nearly 70% of 4th and 8th graders are not proficient in reading. The current top-down structure is failing our kids, and so we're going to dismantle the bureaucracy in Washington, D.C., and give the autonomy to the states and send those dollars so that we can have a direct line for the in-market demands of what the jobs are and having the skilled workforce and draw the line from A to B. It's that simple. Give these workers in the workforce. It's what they want each and every day, and we're bridging that gap for those labor market shortages so that you can have mortgage-paying jobs. Listen, as I wrap up here, I want to emphasize to all of you, it's an honor to defend your shot at the American dream. No matter your background, the industry, President Trump's Department of Labor has your back. And that's why you are so special to me, and it's special to be here today. Getting to see thriving family-owned businesses like Uline that started from the ground up. That's the American dream right here. And I'd like to now introduce who embodies that dream. He serves the American people with a deep understanding of what hardworking men and women in this country are up against. and what they are capable of. He embodies the same tireless work ethic that built our great nation. He and the Second Lady share that with their children, and in turn share that with America's children. Our Vice President knows that the true heartbeat of America isn't in Washington, D.C. It's right here with you. He's doing an incredible job to help revive our manufacturing sector and ignite our economy. And it's an honor to work with him to put you, the American worker, first. Please join me in welcoming the Vice President of the United States, Mr. J.D. Vance.
Here in Pennsylvania, it's a good day. Anytime you get out of Washington, D.C., and I gotta tell you, I wanna go to the bar and drink whatever these guys over here are drinking, because they are having a good time. They're having a good time. I wanna thank a few people before I get started here. First of all, I'm so honored to be joined by our wonderful Second Lady, Usha Vance, my lovely wife, Usha. I want to thank our great Secretary of Labor, Lori Chavez-DeRimmer, who's doing an amazing job, and she's focused on something that I think is very much close to the heart of our great workers here in Pennsylvania, which is this very simple idea that you ought to be able to raise a family and earn a good wage even if you don't go to college. We don't want to force everybody to go to college. We want to empower people who want to work with their hands to earn a good wage and do a good job, and she's fighting for that every single day. Lori's doing a great job. We've got our great Congressman, Ryan McKenzie. Ryan, please stand up and say hello to everybody. Ryan is doing a good job in Washington. He's got a great heart for the people of this district. He's only been in town for a couple of years, maybe only a year now, right? That you've been in Congress, and you see it all the time. You see it with Democrats and Republicans. Sometimes people go to Washington and forget who they serve. Not Ryan McKenzie. You are very lucky in Pennsylvania to have one of the good ones, and Ryan is helping us every single day fight for American workers. I believe, young man, shouldn't you be in school? We had a great young patriot over here. You ought to come up and take a photo afterwards. But I also want to give a shout out to Treasurer Stacey Garrity. Stacey, thanks for everything that you do, and thanks for being here today. Where is she? There we go. And of course, finally, to all the employees and the management, the good people of Uline for making it possible to be here. This is a massive facility, and I think that it speaks to what's going on in the United States of America under the past 10 months of Donald J. Trump's presidential leadership. Under this president, my friends, we are building again. We are investing in the United States of America again. You heard our Secretary of Labor talk about it. 61,000 jobs added in the month of November, and that's not all. We saw private sector wage growth grow at a rate of 4.2%. You know what that means? That means we're seeing the fastest private sector wage growth that we have seen in this country in many, many years. And we're doing it by having a president and an administration that believes in you and fights for you. That is what we're trying to do every single day. Now, I will say, as excited as I was to be here this morning, I remember when I got off the airplane, and it is cold. And, you know, like a good gentleman, I let my wife come down the steps first, and then I get to the bottom of the steps, and there's a bunch of firefighters from the Great Lehigh Valley who want to take a photo with me, and obviously I love our firefighters. I'm happy to take a photo. Now, here's the problem. To the right of me is all these media cameras probably broadcasting my every moment on national television, some of the fake news gathered with us here today. And to the left of me is these great firefighters, and there before me is a sheet of black ice. And I think to myself, if I walk over to those guys and take this photo, I am going to bust my you-know-what. I'm not going to say it because we have this very bright young man here. I don't want to teach any bad words. I don't want your mom and dad to be mad at me. So I do what any self-respecting man would do in a situation like that. I send my wife to go and take a photo with the firefighters. No, I didn't. I actually didn't. I did it the right way, but I did do sort of the Biden slow shuffle to get over there. I did not want these national cameras to catch me doing anything, because if I wiped out on that runway, you all know that would be national news for the next week. Now, Joe Biden could fall walking up the steps in broad daylight in 80-degree weather. Nobody would mind it, but if me or the president do anything like that, it's going to be plastered all over the news. But now we're here, we've made it, we have not wiped out, and we're here to talk about America's economic comeback. And ladies and gentlemen, we needed an economic comeback in the United States of America. We needed it. When we talk about all the wage growth, when we talk about all the people who are coming into the United States to invest in the American worker, we've got real money, real jobs, and real opportunity. What that means for the state of Pennsylvania is that in just the last 11 months, we're creating 60,000 good-paying jobs for Pennsylvania families, and we're bringing in, just in this one Commonwealth, $100 billion of new investment into this great place. That is real opportunity for the American people. That is real wage growth for the American people. And look, I grew up in a community. I was raised by my grandmother in a community where, when I was growing up, the factories were closing down. And those good paying jobs, they weren't coming into our communities. They were getting shipped overseas by politicians in Washington, D.C. The President of the United States has set this entire administration on a different course. We are sick of rewarding companies that ship jobs overseas. We're going to reward companies that build right here in America and give Americans good wages to do it. And you already see it, my friends, you already see it in some of the numbers that we're seeing. When I talk about what we are most proud of, I probably start with what we've been able to do at the southern border, and we'll talk about that in a second. But right after that is, if you go to the Biden administration, the average American family lost $3,000 of take-home pay through the terrible inflation of the Biden administration. In just 10 months of the Trump administration, the average American family has gained about $1,000 of take-home pay. Now that difference could not be starker. When Joe Biden was president for 4 years, he took $3,000 out of your pocket. And in just 10 months of the president's leadership, we have put $1,000 back in your pocket. That's what that means. And that's just the beginning, my friends. That is just the beginning. Because if you look at what we're doing every single day, you are going to have, and if this doesn't turn out to be true, I'll come back here and you can all tell me I'm wrong. But I'm telling you, it's going to be true. You are going to have middle-class Americans, middle-class Pennsylvanians, some of the best tax season in 2026 that you've ever had. Because if you look at no taxes on overtime, no taxes on tips, when we talk about no taxes on your auto loans if you buy an American-made car, now those are political words. I'm sure you've heard them on TV, but starting with tax season in just a couple of weeks, you're going to see that in your tax refund. That's what that means. More money in your pocket because you've got a president and a Congress that are fighting for you for a change, and that's exactly what it should be. And I gotta say, I'm a little surprised. I'm a little surprised by when the Democrats talk all the time about affordability. Democrats say, you know, things aren't affordable. This isn't affordable. This has gotten more expensive. Drugs have gotten more expensive. Housing's gotten more expensive. And you know what? They're right, and it was because of them. It ain't that hard. If you go back to the 4 years of the Biden administration, why did housing get so expensive, double in price during the Biden administration? It's because Joe Biden let in 20 million illegal immigrants who took homes that ought by right go to American citizens and to the people of this great state. When we talk about why did health care get so unaffordable during the Biden administration, it's because Joe Biden allowed prescription drug companies to take advantage of this country. You know, Europeans were paying way less for prescription drugs than our American citizens. It took Donald J. Trump to haul those pharmaceutical executives into the Oval Office and say, no more. Europe's going to pay more for drugs, and America's going to pay less for drugs because we got to fight for the American people for a change. Why have rents gone down for 4 consecutive months? And I know they're still too high, but why have rents gone down for 4 consecutive months? Because we're starting to get those illegal aliens out of the United States of America. Those criminals, those gang members, those people who are taking homes that ought by right go to the people in this room and your children and your grandchildren. It's simple economics. If you have fewer people, fewer illegal aliens trying to buy homes, that means American citizens are going to finally be able to afford a home again. It's very, very simple economics. When you ask, why is it that we have trillions of dollars of new investment coming into the United States of America? Because we finally got a president who says, if you're going to build in America, if you're going to invest in America, we're going to make it easy for you. But if you're not going to build anything in America, if you're going to try to ship an American job overseas, then we are going to penalize you for doing something overseas that you ought to do in the United States of America. That's why we've got so much money coming in. So if you look at every single affordability crisis that we talk about in the United States of America today, it's because we inherited a nightmare of an economy from Joe Biden. The highest peacetime debt and deficits in the history of the United States of America, that blows the door off inflation. The highest energy prices in the history of the United States of America. We are in one of the great energy regions in the entire world, not just in America, in the entire world. You know why energy prices are lower? You know why gas prices have come down so much? Because we finally got an American president who wants to invest in American energy and American workers instead of green energy boondoggles that are produced overseas. So on all these things, my point, ladies and gentlemen, is that we are making progress. And I never forget where I come from. I never forget who I serve. And I know that there is so much more progress to be made. I remember my grandmother in times like this of the holidays. Of course, I think a lot of us remember the loved ones that we've lost. I remember my dear Mamaw, that's what I called her. And I was in a particularly hard math class in high school. And she said, what do you need to do well in this class? My grades weren't so good. And she went out, even though she could not afford even the essentials in life, she went out and got me a calculator, a very expensive calculator, so that I could do well in this math class. I remember what it feels like for American families when you have the government take $3,000 out of your pocket through higher taxes and higher inflation. I know what it's like for a woman who's trying to support a grandson but can't afford her prescription drugs because pharmaceutical companies are taking advantage of the United States of America. I remember what it's like when you have to choose between putting food on the table or getting the prescription that you need to stay healthy. And that is not a life that Donald Trump or I want for the citizens in the greatest country in the world. We want you to be able to afford the things that you have to give your kids and your grandkids a good life. We want you to check your credit card statement and for that to be an annoyance, something you got to do rather than something that causes a lot of stress and anxiety. We don't want a single parent or grandparent to have to look at their checking account and decide whether they're going to buy food or whether they're going to buy medicine this month. We are fighting for you every single day. And I don't want you to think for 1 second that because Joe Biden gave us the worst economy in the world that we forget it. No, we know. We know exactly what we were left with. We know exactly the consequences that it's caused for so many of our great families all across Pennsylvania. And I promise you, there is no person more impatient to solve the affordability crisis than Donald J. Trump, the President of the United States. You know, I hear these guys, I hear these Democrats talk about this as if you were going to fix these problems in a single day. It reminds me of probably the third day in the Oval Office where eggs had gotten so expensive under the Biden administration. And you look, I'm the Vice President of the United States. I'm a very blessed man. But we have 3 little kids who eat a lot of eggs. And so I know the price of a dozen eggs. So the price of eggs got really high during the Biden administration. It was the third day in the White House, and some reporter said, "What are you doing about the price of eggs? Haven't you seen they're so expensive?" And the president's like, "Lady, we've been here for 3 days. It takes a little bit of time to fix something that was so fundamentally broken." And so when I hear the Democrats talk about the affordability crisis that they created, it's a little bit like, Charles Manson criticizing violent crime. Look in the mirror, my friend. You are the cause of the problem, and Donald J. Trump's administration is the solution to the problem that you created. I want to say one more thing here, and then I want to take some questions from the reporters, and then we'll have to hit the road. But, this is such an amazing time to be in Pennsylvania. As much as I complain about the cold, and I do, as much as I almost busted my rear end on the tarmac today, I love being in the great state of Pennsylvania during this time of year. I love Christmas time. I love the beautiful trees. I love the snow on the hill. I love everything about this state this time of year. It reminds me a lot of my home state of Ohio, for reasons that you all know well. But here's the thing. During this Christmas time, I think that we got to remember that we have a lot in the United States of America to be grateful for, and I am at the very top of the list of people who have a lot to be grateful for. I'm very grateful to my beautiful wife and our healthy kids. I'm very grateful to have this job, for the trust that all of you have put in me. I'm very grateful that we have a president of the United States who would literally take a bullet for this country, and in fact actually did. But I just ask all of you to count your blessings this holiday season, because there's a lot good out there. There's a lot that we're still working to fix. But I just want to say, from the President of the United States, from the entire administration, my friends in Pennsylvania, Merry Christmas to you. I hope your families have a Happy New Year. Thank you. All right. Thank you all. Please sit down. Sit down. We're not done yet. We're not done yet. Please. All right. We're going to take a few questions from the reporters, and we're going to start with the most egregious of the fake news. Is that right, Luke? No. We're going to start with the local reporters who have some integrity. So let's start with our local cameraman, and then we'll move on to the fake news if we have some time. Sir or ma'am?
Hi, I'm Jackson White from WITF in
Hey, Jackson. How you doing?
I'm good. So many Americans are still reporting that they're experiencing high costs of groceries and other living expenses. How does the administration plan to lower those costs, and how long might that take for them to experience those lower costs?
Well, Jackson, as I said earlier, I think the best way to understand this is if the American people had $3,000 taken out of their pocket, it's going to take a little bit of time before they really feel like that money's been put back in their pocket. That just takes a lot of time. It's a lot of work. And I think the best way...
This cough.
Mucus levels are high today, huh?
Not today. I got Mucinex 12 hour.
Mucinex 12 hour works continuously to break up mucus and move it up and out to rid the congestion and kill the cough.
Opportunity, discovery, celebration, Lakeland University. Your future starts here.
of American peacetime in 250 years. What we have been able to do, higher wages, lower inflation, a massive amount of investment and money coming into the United States of America, that stuff is incredible. And that is something to be proud of. What I will say is that given how bad things got under the Biden administration, we're going to keep on working every single day to make sure that Americans feel the benefits of the Trump economy. I am certain that we've already seen great benefits for the American people, but we got a lot of rebuilding to do over the next 3 years, and the president is committed more than anybody to making sure that we do it.
Hi there, Vice President J.D. Vance. This is Rob Manch with 69 News, WFMZ. The jobs report you mentioned this morning, you said 60,000 jobs were added in November. However, it also said 100,000 jobs were lost in October, and the unemployment rate currently stands at 4.6%, which is the highest since the pandemic. So my question is, how do you inspire companies to hire people if people don't have jobs? Income tax cuts aren't going to help them.
Well, first of all, the idea that income tax cuts don't help is ridiculous. If more people have more money to spend in their pocket, that's good for businesses, it's good for families, it's good for everybody. It's one of the ways why we do this. When we talk about 100,000 jobs, you're talking about government sector jobs, and that is in a lot of ways the entire story of what we're trying to do under President Trump's leadership. We want to fire bureaucrats and hire these great Americans out here. That's what we're trying to do. Now, you mentioned, this is an important point, you mentioned the unemployment rate ticking up to 4.6%. I think this is a very, very important point, because you know what that means? What that data shows, you got to get into the weeds a little bit. The unemployment rate only counts the people who are looking for work. So let's say you dropped out of work 2 years ago, you haven't been searching for a job, well, you're unemployed, but you're not counted in the official unemployment statistics. What you're seeing as wages go up, as more investment comes into our country, is that people who weren't looking for work under Biden's administration are getting out there and looking for work in the Trump administration. That's exactly what we want. We want to get people off the sidelines and give them a good job with good pay, and we're seeing a lot of evidence that that is happening under President Trump's leadership. We'll take one more question.
Mr. Vice President, Jacob Bogage from the Washington Post. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Same to you.
Unfortunately, I have to ask a bit of an off-topic question from affordability because news events do intervene, and that is the interviews that White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles gave to Vanity Fair, in which she's quoted as referring to you as, excuse me, and again, not my words, sir, but a conspiracy theorist of a decade, and described your transformation from someone who once opposed President Trump to now his vice president as an act of political expediency. And I'd like to give you the chance to respond to that, sir.
Well, first of all, if Susie, I'll trust what you said. I haven't looked at the article. I of course have heard about it. But conspiracy theorist, sometimes I am a conspiracy theorist, but I only believe in the conspiracy theories that are true. And by the way, Susie and I have joked in private and in public about that for a long time. For example, I believed in the crazy conspiracy theory back in 2020 that it was stupid to mask 3-year-olds at the height of the COVID pandemic, that we should actually let them develop some language skills. You know, I believed in this crazy conspiracy theory that the media and the government were covering up the fact that Joe Biden was clearly unable to do the job. And I believed in the conspiracy theory that Joe Biden was trying to throw his political opponents in jail rather than win an argument against his political opponents. So, at least on some of these conspiracy theories, it turns out that a conspiracy theory is just something that was true 6 months before the media admitted it. And that's my understanding. Now, look, I do want to say something about Susie, though, because, again, having not read this article, Susie is a person I've come to know very, very well. And, you know, a lot of you probably ask yourself, what is it like behind the scenes? What's going on actually behind the scenes of the Trump administration? And I'll tell you, the president is exactly in private who he is in public. Like, I'll tell you a little story. Maybe a week or so ago, I walk into the Oval Office and Marco and I are sitting there talking with the president about something. He says, stop. And he looks at our shoes and says, you guys have terrible shoes. So he goes and gets a shoe catalog. Now remember, this is the Christmas season, so the president's got some holiday cheer. He goes and gets a shoe catalog and gets his favorite shoes and orders like 4 pairs of shoes for me and 4 pairs of shoes for Marco, because he's like, you know, we need our vice president or secretary of state to look their very best. And, you know, then we went back to talking about whatever major, you know, international issue we were talking about. Again, he is exactly in private who he is in public. That's not true of most people in Washington, D.C. It's not. And I've seen so many people who will say one thing to the president's face, Democrats and Republicans, and then will do the exact opposite behind the scenes. You know why you know what they are, and you know why I really love Susie Wiles? Because Susie is who she is in the president's presence. She's the same exact person when the president isn't around. I've never seen Susie Wiles say something to the president and then go and counteract him or subvert his will behind the scenes. And that's what you wanted a staffer. Because as much as I love Susie, the American people didn't elect any staffer. They elected the President of the United States. And what you want in a staffer is a person who understands they are there to effectuate the will of the American people, and they're there to follow the orders of the duly elected Commander-in-Chief of the United States. And Susie Wiles, we have our disagreements, we agree on much more than we disagree, but I've never seen her be disloyal to the President of the United States, and that makes her the best White House Chief of Staff that I think the President could ask for. And the last thing I'll say is, if any of us have learned a lesson from that Vanity Fair article, I hope that the lesson is we should be giving fewer interviews to mainstream media outlets. So with that lesson internalized, I'm going to stop taking questions and just leave you with one final note. And again, it's just a note of gratitude. This is the coolest job I've ever had. Agree with us or disagree with us, I'm sure that every single person in this room made something happen to get me to this job. You went out there and voted, maybe you persuaded one of your relatives to vote, maybe even volunteered or knocked on doors or made phone calls for us. I will never forget that my job every single day is to make it so that you guys can have a safe and prosperous life in this country that all of us love. Thank you. We inherited a mess, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. We inherited a mess. But I think that in 11 months, we have made great progress to making this a safer, a more secure, and a more prosperous nation. Let's work for the next 3 years to do even more great work for the American people, and let's rebuild this country together. God bless you all. Merry Christmas.
If you live in Florida and have a good driving record, you're being scammed by big auto insurance. Listen up. I don't care if you think you have good insurance rates. The truth is you don't. For those who don't know, my name is Jimmy Williams, and I was a senior executive at one of the biggest insurance companies. I got good news and bad news for my Florida family. The bad news: your car insurance company is stealing at least $200 from you every single month. That's $2,400 a year they're keeping from your family. And they're laughing at you while they do it. For 30 years as an exec, I helped them rob people just like you. Inside our offices, we had a name for Florida drivers: the ATM machine. Why? Because you're forced by law to have insurance. And they know exactly how to exploit that. The 2025 bombshell report caught them red-handed, overcharging Florida drivers up to 80%. Your insurance company has a cheaper rate for you right now. It's in their computer system. but they won't give it to you. Why would they? You're already overpaying, and they love that. Awful, right? Let me show you something that made me quit. Jessica Martinez from Tampa, 2 kids, perfect record, 15 years, Saints wish they parked like her. She was paying $347 a month to one of the largest carriers. I told her, go through my website instead.
What a terrible, terrible thing. We don't learn. We're joined in mourning all of those who were killed, and we're praying for the swift recovery of the wounded. Some are very horrifically wounded, as you probably know. All nations must stand together against the evil forces of radical Islamic terrorism, and we're doing that. Joining us tonight are Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick is doing a fantastic job. Representatives Paul Gosar, David Kutzoff, Claudia Tenney, Ronnie Jackson, he was my White House doctor. Ronnie was asked, who is the healthiest of all? Was it Barack Hussein Obama? Was it Sleepy Joe Biden? Or was it Donald Trump? And he said, Trump was by far the healthiest. He was the doctor for all 3 of us, and he said Trump was by far the healthiest. I love him. If he didn't say that, I would never have talked to him again. But where is Ronnie? Is he here? Ronnie Jackson, what a great legend. Josh Gottheimer is here. Mr. Salt is here, Mike Lawler. He's the only guy could have gotten that for New York. Nobody else. He worked so hard on that. Will you please focus on the midterms, please? Do you mind? Okay. Because you can do it. Jared Moskowitz. Thank you, Jared. Thank you, Jared. Max Miller is here. Great old Max. He was my music man in the White House. He knew music better than any human being. Craig Goldman. Thank you, Craig. And Randy Fine, new to Congress, but he's done a great job. He's been great. As well as the mayor of Boca Raton, Florida, Scott Singer. Thank you very much. Thank you, Scott. Good place. I love Boca. National Chairman of the Republican Jewish Committee, Norm Coleman. Thank you, Norm. Looking good, Norm. CEO of the Republican Jewish Coalition, Matt Brooks. He says Trump is the greatest president we've ever had, so I like him. I'll take Matt any day. Thank you, Matt. CEO of the Israeli-American Council, Ellen Carr. Thank you. We have a man, I have to take a little time. Because every Saturday night, used to be Sunday, then he did so well that they put him on Saturday too, Saturday night. You know who I'm talking about, because there's only one that's Saturday and Sunday. And Saturday is considered Death Valley, but it's not death because of ratings. Nobody gets good ratings. Although actually my daughter-in-law is doing well, and you always did well. The great one, Mark Levin. And much more importantly, his much more brilliant wife. Where are you? There you are. Would you come on up here, both of you? Get up here. Get up. Look, every Saturday, every Sunday, I'm forced to watch television to listen to this guy talk about how freaking great I am. Because he does like Trump. There's no question about it. Come on up here, Mark. Get up here. Come on up. What a beautiful couple. Did you get lucky? If you weren't a genius, you wouldn't have a wife like this. Mark, say a couple of words. Come in. And these people do like Israel. Hold on.
And he loves Israel too. 6 years ago, I was up here, and I said, "This is our first Jewish president." Now he's the first Jewish president to serve 2 not consecutive presidencies. We thank you for everything.
Bad things happened in the second one. namely the election was rigged. And we found out, and you see that happening. But
And you are the greatest.
Thank you very much.
God bless you. I miss you. I miss you.
Tomorrow's comeback starts tonight. Icy hot, nighttime recovery.
I was making so much money with DoorDash. I wanted to earn money in my free time, but I didn't want to go out and get a boring 9 to 5. That's when I found out how much money my friend was making with DoorDash. There are opportunities in over 4,000 cities. Signing up was super easy. And before long, I was already making deliveries. Now, I get to make my own schedule and keep 100% of my tips. Download the DoorDash driver app and get started today.
Take care of that guy. Take care of that guy. No, he's so great. Thank you, Mark, for both being here. You both really are amazing. So, Rabbi Yehuda Kaplan. Thank you, Rabbi. Oh, no. Sid Rosenberg. There he is, Sid. Do you want to come up here, Sid? Mark, should I let Sid come up, Mark? I think so. Come on, Sid. So Sid's got the #1 radio show in New York. Got the #1 radio show in New York, like by far, ABC. Works for a really nice guy, too. Actually, he's not that nice, but he's nice as far as I'm concerned. He works for a good man. Say a few words. Thank you.
I love him. Do you all love him? Has there been a president even close to this guy, even close? And now I know, tell him, he starts tonight talking about Australia. Good luck with anybody else in our government, starting with the Jewish people in Australia. Nobody better, and the fact that you called me up on stage, I'm going to say this. My beautiful wife Danielle's in the audience. The birth of my 2 children. Outside of that, President Trump, this right now is the greatest moment of my life.
He's almost crying. He hasn't cried since he's a baby. Well, he's a great guy and a great man, and he loves Israel. And boy, you got some good people. Harmeet, thank you very much. Harmeet Dillon is here. And she sues the ass off of anybody that is anti-Semitic. She's doing a lot of them right now. Harvard wished they never heard her name, right? They're going to pay a lot of money, right, Harmeet? We're going to pay a lot of money. Sid, it's an honor to have you up, and you do a great show, and we appreciate it. And say hello to the Casamatidis person, who's fantastic. And another person, I really love her. I think she's a beautiful woman. You're not allowed to say that anymore, because if you do, it usually means the end of your political career. But I've been threatened much worse than that. I think she's a beautiful woman, inside and out. Liz Pipko. Liz, come up here. Enough with the Sid and the Mark. Come on up here. Look at her. She has been so strong for Israel and for our country. Let's say a few words, please.
First, I want to address the elephant in the room, which is me tonight. I am grateful to President Trump for so many things, but now most of all, I'm grateful for this tiny miracle which exists because Donald Trump ran for office in 2016. I met the love of my life on that campaign, and now in addition to saving the world, I will have a child thanks to President Trump. So. And much more importantly, the Jewish people have been through a lot, of course, the last few years, last weekend, and I just hope on this holiday of miracles, we realize what a miracle it is to be in the greatest country on the face of the earth, in the most beautiful building, and with the greatest president this world has ever seen.
Congratulations. That's right. She was on the campaign and she was so effective and great. And we always have to remember the ones that have been great in good times and bad. That's why Mark and the people I introduce, because I don't introduce them when they're just sort of good. When they're good, everyone's good. The day after I won the election, they were, sir, I just want to tell you, you're the greatest person I've ever seen. Thank you, sir. I'd love to have dinner sometime. Where have you been for the last 2 years? We have a lot of those people, mostly those. Jason, how are you, Jason? Jason Greenblatt. Do you know Jason Greenblatt? He worked for me for years. He's a great lawyer. Then he made a lot of money and he said, I'm getting out. And you focused on Israel, right? That was the focus. He says, I love Israel. I just want to focus on Israel. It's good to see you. I haven't seen you in a long time, but he was a great lawyer. Here's another great lawyer, David. Good to have you here. Good to have you here, David. And we have another person that's a very special person. She received the Presidential Medal of Freedom. She is a beautiful woman, actually, in my opinion. Another one. That's 2 reasons now. And third, by the way, Mark, we have 3 reasons, Mark. Because your wife is incredible, always from day one. But I think it's okay if we ask Miriam Edelson. You want to come up, Miriam? Come up here, Miriam. Miriam gave my campaign, indirectly and directly, $250 million. She was number 1. When somebody can give you $250 million, I think that we should give her the opportunity to say hello. And Miriam, make it quick, because $250 million is not what it used to be. Okay? Hello, darling. Come on. Incredible woman with a great husband, a man that loved Israel.
Well, Mr. President, when you were in the Israeli parliament and you gave a speech and you saw me from far away, at that time I came with a scooter to the parliament just to hear you. I wanted to hear you alive. And then you said, Miriam Adelson, and I stood for a second, but it was so painful, so I said, then you screamed, Miriam, stand up! And I wish you would have known, but I stood up and heard all your compliment, and thank you very much.
I saw you back there standing.
Yeah, so
Thank you. Bravely.
And now I met Alan Dershowitz, and he said the legal thing about 4 more years, and I said, Alan, I agree with you, so we can do it. Think about it.
Alan's here someplace. Where's Alan?
Alan is here, or he had a flight? Alan is here?
She said, think about it, I'll give you another $250 million. But her husband, Sheldon, was an amazing guy, and he'd come up to the office, and there was nobody more aggressive than Sheldon. I think I spent more time with him and you, because you usually came up together, but he'd call and say, can I come over, please? I say, Sheldon, I'm President of the United States. It doesn't work that way anymore. It's like, maybe tomorrow? How about tomorrow? No, please, just for a little while. And he'd always say 10 minutes. It turned out to be about an hour and a half, right? And what he did is he fought for Israel. That's all he really fought for. He just wanted to take care of He just wanted to take care of Israel. So he was a great guy. He was a fantastic man, and he loved you so much. He couldn't see straight. So good. Thank you, darling. Be careful. Be careful. We don't want her falling. You know, when you fall, it's not good for politics. We had a man that fell a lot. I don't want to talk too much because I'll have my day, I'm sure, you know. They're waiting, the press. You know, all that press back there, they're waiting. Oh, would they like to see Trump trip off the stage? I would never live it down. But anyway, and we have so many friends. I can't mention everybody. We have so many friends. Hello, my man. How are you? Boy, we have good people here tonight, huh? This is the A-list. This is the A-list of any list. But it's an honor to have you all. It really is. Just what you've done and what you've gone through is incredible. And as a people, there's never been anything like it. You know, I told Bibi, I said, you know, it's amazing what you've done. Because when you look at the Middle East, you take a map of the Middle East, I said, the land is so small. It's so tiny. It's like hard to believe what you've been able to do. Now, it helped the B-2 bombers that we sent in to wipe out the... We gave them a lot of help. It helped when we were shooting all those drones down from jet fighters. Don't ever let anyone tell you a drone is better than a jet fighter. Drone's very nice. But when you have F-22s circling around them like there's nothing, you're shooting the crap out of them out of the air. Don't let anyone convince you that a drone is better than an F-22 or an F-35 or any of that stuff. But they're nice. They're nice. But we had our fighters shooting the hell out of 2,000 drones were launched at Israel, and they were just knocking them out. The only problem, on occasion, they'd run out of bullets. But every one of them took out a drone, and we did a great job. And then we did the best job of all, as we knocked out the Iran nuclear power. They would have had that, and within a month, I think they would have been a much different story. Would have been talking from a much different place. But the story of Hanukkah began more than 2,000 years ago in ancient Jerusalem, when the oppressive tyrant, and they were really oppressive, tried. By the way, a lot of things don't change so much. They'd be oppressive today if you didn't have strength. You need strength, Mark, right? If you don't have strength, and if you don't have a partner with a good president, don't forget you had a president previously that believed in Iran. They ditched the entire world for Iran. That's why they signed the Iran nuclear deal that I terminated immediately. It was the worst deal. And Bibi Netanyahu came over here to beg Barack Hussein Obama not to sign that deal, but he signed it. He signed it. It was a whole different world. And that's why I wonder. I got the highest Jewish vote. Now, I have to say, in Israel, they say I'm at 99%. But over here, I was like at 50. It meant that 50% of the people over here voted for Kamala. Is that possible? Is that even possible, right? So, anyway, but they suppressed the Jewish worship and imposed foreign rules. Are we okay over there? Just want to make sure you're okay. You okay? Good. I want to make sure you're perfect. Okay? Thank you very much, yeah. Yeah, is there a doctor? Get a doctor over there, please, just in case. Go ahead, hop over there, please. Okay? Good. Thank you very much.
Have you ever wondered how people get those high-paying cybersecurity jobs? You might think that they have to get a specialized advanced degree, but
Everything good? Okay. Great person. Against overwhelming odds, a small band of Jewish fighters rose up to defend the Jewish people's right to worship freely. When they reclaimed the Holy Temple, they found only a single flask of sacred oil, just enough to keep the menorah's light burning for one night. They wanted that light to burn just for one night. Yet, as the story goes, that small flame endured for 8 days. Do you know that story? Does everybody know that story? For thousands of years, the miracle of Hanukkah has reminded us of God's love for the Jewish people, as well as their enduring resilience and faith in the face of centuries of persecution. Centuries. And it continues. It continues. Who would believe this could continue? And it sort of started here with schools and universities, and Harmeet's taking care of that situation very strongly in the Department of Justice, right? Who would believe it? But we're grateful to be joined by another reminder of that unbreakable strength, two courageous survivors of the Nazi Holocaust. Jerry Worotsky and Michael Bornstein. Where are they? Where are you guys? Well, you look good. You look better than I do. You look fantastic. Jerry was only 9 years old when the Nazis invaded Poland. He lost both of his parents in the camps, but refused to let their murder defeat him. After the war, he came to New York, where he had an incredibly successful career, became very successful, and became a good friend of Melania and myself, and I want to thank you, Jerry, and that's incredible what took place. Thank you very much. Thank you, Jerry. Thank you very much. And Michael Bornstein lost both his father and mother in Auschwitz when he was just a very young man, a toddler actually. Through the love and sacrifice of other family members, he managed to survive and reunite with his mother in later years. They would come to America, where Michael received a scholarship to college and eventually earned a PhD in chemistry and became one of the most brilliant chemists anywhere around. So Michael and Jerry, I want to just thank you. We're honored to have you. This whole group of people are very honored to have you both. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. As President of the United States, I will always support Jewish Americans, and I will always be a friend and a champion to the Jewish people. I have been. And I will say, if you go back 10, 12, 15 years ago at the most, the strongest lobby in Washington was the Jewish lobby. It was Israel. That's no longer true. You have to be very careful. You have a Congress in particular, which is becoming anti-Semitic. You have AOC +3. You have those people, Ilhan Omar, she hates Jewish people. And you have to be very careful because there's been a big change. If you go back 15 years ago, I'm not Jewish, but my father was very friendly with many, many Jewish people, was honored by Federation. I would go with him to Federation of Jewish Philanthropies and many other things. And we grew up respecting and loving Jewish people. You don't even think about it. In Brooklyn and Queens mostly. And my father didn't go to Manhattan. He never went to Manhattan from the standpoint. He could never understand how in Brooklyn you could buy a piece of land for $3 a foot, and how in Manhattan you had to pay $1,000 a foot. He said, I can't get that. I don't like it. I like to buy it for $3. So it's different. It's a different thinking. In a way, I'm glad he didn't do that, because he let me have some of that fun. And I had a lot of fun in Manhattan. We did great. But my father would tell me the most powerful lobby that there is in this country is the Jewish lobby. It's the Israeli lobby. It's not that way anymore. You have a lot of people in your way. You have a lot of people that don't want to help Israel. You have a lot of people in Congress that don't like Israel. You have a lot of people in Congress that, in a way, I think, Mike, we could say it, right? You're there. You're doing an amazing job, Mike Lawler. They hate Israel. They hate Israel. And if you would have told me 15 years ago that that was possible, Jason, I would have said, there's no way. There's no way that's possible. But it's happening. And obviously, it's getting progressively worse. Less so in the Senate, but the Senate's starting also. You get glimmers, when I'm in the back rooms talking to people, you get glimmers of statements that you say, whoa, where did that come from? So we have to be, Sid, we have to be very careful, because bad things are happening. And then you see what goes on in Australia, or October 7th. How about October 7th? And then you have people that deny it ever happened. How about the people that deny, like they deny the Holocaust, but you figure, well, that's just many years. Well, October 7th is not many years at all. And you have people that deny October. I saw tape that I wish I never saw it, actually. I wish I never saw it. I got to see tape that some of you got to see, but as president, I got to see things I wish I never saw. But there's no denying it. But then they'll say, oh, the tape was a rigged tape. It was a tape that never existed. They made it up. It's just propaganda. I don't know if they believe it. I don't think they believe it, but you have to be very, very careful. Bad things are happening, and We're not gonna let that happen. While I'm president and the DOJ and Army, we're not gonna let it happen, but please be vigilant and careful, because you have some bad people that are now in Congress that were unthinkable to be in Congress 12, 13, 14 years ago, 15 years ago. Within days of taking office, I signed a historic executive order to combat the vile scourge of anti-Semitism, as you know. It's the strongest executive order of its kind ever signed. And we're also mobilizing federal resources to protect Jewish students and faculty. The faculty is under siege. The students are under siege. When you look at Columbia, you look at Harvard, you look at some of these schools, what's going on. But the faculty on campuses across America and are deporting foreign jihadist sympathizers and terrorist supporters at record levels. We're deporting them. We're not putting them in jails, we're deporting them. I terminated the disastrous Iran nuclear deal, and this summer we obliterated Iran's nuclear program like nobody's ever seen. And even that CNN fake news, they're back there, the camera's roaring. The light will go off in any second now. They hate when I mention their name because they know it's only bad, because they're crooked as hell. They're fake news, you know, the term. I think it's been one of my better terms, Sid, right? I don't think anybody takes it away. We had some good ones, Pocahontas, but I think fake news is probably pretty good. The only problem is it's actually not strong enough. You know, fake, it's crooked, corrupt, disgusting news, but we'll have to do with fake. But fake isn't strong enough. That's the only problem. It's actually, I wish I could come up with a word that's really more powerful than fake, but fake is good enough. But CNN with the attack on Iran, they said, well, I used the word we obliterated them. You know why? Because the pilots told me they know better than anybody, and the pilots told everything, and then we had visuals. And these pilots are coming back after having endured the most dangerous ride. I said, did you guys, I had them all to the Oval Office. After 2 weeks after the attack, I had them all. I had the pilots, and I had people that maintain the planes. I had the people that fly the tankers. You know, we had 52 tankers, because we had the 7 major planes. We also had 4 planes flying in different, of the B-2, flying in different directions. Iran didn't know what the hell was happening, but we had a whole force of F-22s, most beautiful fighter jet ever made, most powerful fighter jet ever made, and F-35's a brand new one. And they're stealth, believe me, they're stealth, because they went into Iranian airspace, and Iran never saw anything, and it was thinking that 2 o'clock in the morning, it was dark at night, there was no moon at all, no light, no nothing, and every single bomb went right down those air shafts into granite mountains, right down those air shafts. At 2 o'clock in the morning with no vision, every single bomb hit its target, and CNN said on the way back, they were on the way, they hadn't even landed yet, well, maybe the attack wasn't that bad, because I used the word obliteration. I turned out to be right. The Atomic Energy Commission shortly thereafter said it was total obliteration. Iran actually said it was total obliteration. In fact, they said touchdown. Yeah, it was a touchdown. But it was amazing. And we've never had an apology from CNN, you know. So you have fake news against you, fake news. And I didn't fight for you. I wasn't fighting for you there. I was fighting for those pilots that were so brave to go there. When they came into the Oval Office, I said, you can't seriously enjoy this. They said, sir, we enjoy every minute of it. So we were practicing this and the predecessors. We were practicing for 22 years, they said. For 22 years they were practicing. And no president had the courage to let them go and do that. They wanted to do it for 22 years. And the predecessors, meaning the young pilots at the time. But for 22 years, 3 times a year, they were practicing that run. And I'm the one that said, let's go get them, let's do it. And if we didn't, and they thanked me. But I did say to the pilots, you know, enough is enough. I said, do you really like being in that plane when they're waiting for you? They know you're coming, it's dark, it's cold, it's everything, and you're in a plane, and there are bullets flying all over the place. Sir, I wouldn't trade this for anything in the world. Can you believe these people? And I love you people, but I'm not getting in that plane. I love you guys, but these people are unbelievable. The talent they have, the way they can fly those things, the way they can aim it at a target in the dark of night, the darkest you've ever seen. They wanted to be as dark as possible. They didn't want anything. And the only time anybody could see those planes was when those bomb chutes open up, because it becomes totally unstealth when it goes. I explained that to Mark Levin once. You're going in, you go like this, and as soon as it goes like this, for some reason, the plane is invisible, not good. And I watched it happening. And it's like I'm sitting home watching it, it's amazing. The Situation Room is an amazing place. But I watched him go, bing, bing, one bing, bing, and two massive 100,000-pound bombs come pouring out. And the job they did was incredible. I mean, compare that to, I thought he was a nice man, but compare that to the Jimmy Carter attack on, that was not good, with the helicopters and the men running all over the place trying to get the hell out of there. This was not good. This was the single greatest military attack that anyone's ever seen.
Look, I don't know who need to hear this, but my man just tried that new 100 milligram generic Viagra for only 87 cents a...
And that sort of put an end to, we helped Israel very much, as you know, with their attacks on Iran before that, but that really put an end to it because they were about a month away from having a nuclear weapon. I officially recognize the true capital of Israel and opened the American embassy in Jerusalem. Is Julie good? Where's Julie? Oh, good. I thought it was you that went down. It wasn't you? Oh, good. I was worried about, I didn't care about anybody else. I said, is Julie in trouble? I thought it was you. Good. It's somebody else. I wish them good luck, but I don't want that to happen to Julie. That's Mark's wife. We love Julie. But I didn't see Julie ever going down. She's like a rock, right? Mark? She's a rock. I wouldn't want to have her as my enemy. She was also a great lawyer, by the way. I also recognize the Israeli sovereignty over the Golan Heights. And that's one they didn't even ask me. Even Sheldon, who is the most aggressive human being there is in the entire world, this incredible woman, although she had total control. He was aggressive with everybody, but Miriam, he would play games with Miriam, but he was actually a sweetheart. But he never even asked me about the Golan Heights because he said, that's a step too far. I actually gave it because I called up. I heard so much about Golan Heights. From Jason Greenblatt, I heard it, from so many people. And I actually asked David Friedman. I said, he was the ambassador at the time, good guy. He said, and by the way, Mike Huckabee's doing a great job. Two good ones, two very good ones. But I asked David Friedman, I don't know if David's here, but I asked him because he is so Israel-oriented. I mean, he's great. I said, David, tell me about Golan Heights in 5 minutes or less. I'm taking in like 1,000 years of history in 5 minutes. I said, give it to me in 5 minutes or less. And after about 2 minutes, I said, I understand. You need it so badly for so many other reasons. You need it for defense. In the old days, before we had all the sophisticated radar and all the things, it was everything because you were up high. But I learned enough and I signed the Golan Heights, the rights to the Golan Heights over to Israel. Nobody thought that was possible to get. They've been working on it for 70 years, Mark. 70 years. Planes would fly into places that have meetings that would last 2-3 days. All they talked about was the Golan Heights, right, Jason? And nobody ever did anything, but I did it, and we did it quickly, and I say, good luck to you. Then I found out the value of it, trillions of dollars. It could be worth, if you think, trillions of dollars. I said, maybe I should have asked him for something. But with Jared Kushner's help, Jared has been a great fan of Israel, the Kushner family. And by the way, how good is Steve Witkoff doing, right? I got Steve involved in Russia, Ukraine, and the Middle East. By the way, bottom line, We have legitimate peace in the Middle East. You know, you may have a little outbreak every once in a while, but we have 59 countries all signed on. They want to, they'll do whatever is necessary. And Hamas, say what you want. Hamas, you know, we got back all of the hostages and all of the dead, young, beautiful people that were dead. And nobody thought that would happen. In fact, I even said, the toughest are going to be that final 20. We're never going to get them. But we played very tough, and we were very tough. We meant it. And we wanted to get back the 28 dead. 28 dead, young, beautiful people dead. Most of them, I think, pretty young. All of them pretty young. And the parents came up to me, and I told the story before. We had another little celebration of Hanukkah before. But I told the story before where the parents were as dedicated to getting their dead son back as they were to getting the live son back. It was an amazing and a beautiful thing, but I didn't think it would be possible. And then when we got the 20 back, when we got the live back, we didn't have anywhere close to the 28 dead. And I said, there's no way, but I said, you got to get it back. You got to get them back. I told that to Hamas, got to get them back. And you know what? One by one by one, we got them back. And we got the last one back. We got them all back. And amazing, though, those parents were as dedicated, I can't say more, but they were as dedicated as the parents who knew their son was alive, and they begged to have him. And I'm very proud of it. I thought the last one, and it was tough, I didn't know. But Steve Woodcock was great, Jared Kushner was great. And, you know, Jared's a brilliant guy, we all know, but Steve's a great deal maker. But I noticed one thing about him. He had the greatest personality. He was a real estate guy in New York. He knew less about rivers and meets and bounds in Russia and the various places he's working on. He knew nothing about it. But I recognized for 20 years, I've been dealing with everybody in New York. I said, Steve has the best personality. I have other guys that are great deal makers, but you have to go into World War III before the deal. We didn't want that. I said, everybody loves Steve. He's a great deal maker, but everybody loves him. And that's what turned out to be. People love Steve. And I think we're going to be pretty close. I mean, we're going to see. I thought the easiest war to settle would be Russia, Ukraine, because they have a good relationship with Putin. It would have never happened if I were president. That would have never, and it didn't happen for 4 years. Putin understood, would have never, ever happened. But Steve has done a fantastic job, and he loves Israel, and he's done a great job. So we did Israel, and we did peace in the Middle East, and we have a real peace. That's a real peace. If Hamas acts up, they know it's big trouble. And we have Hezbollah, as you know, in Lebanon, and they're big trouble. But we have peace, and we have many countries that want to go in and take out Hezbollah if it happens, if we want to do it. Not just Israel. Many countries would do it. There's tremendous unity now in the Middle East, and we really do. We really have peace in the Middle East for the first time ever, so it's an honor. It's an honor. So we did our ceasefire agreement to end the war in Gaza, which everybody said was an impossibility, and we begin the new era of that beautiful peace in a place that nobody thought peace was possible, the Middle East. So congratulations to everybody in this room. Everybody wanted it. But the story of Hanukkah reminds us that light will always prevail over darkness, and faith and triumph over fear. Together, let us honor the eternal flame and the faith that has always protected the Jewish people. You are protected. You are special, special people. You are special people. So I want to thank everybody. I want to wish you all a happy Hanukkah. And you know, this is the first time that I've ever brought up notes to make a speech for. We call them the Christmas dinners. I call them the Christmas Hanukkah dinners, if that's okay. I hope you don't mind. But I call them New Year's just too. But I've made about 20 of them so far. I never had any, so I brought this up. You know why? I've done so much for Israel that I have to read. Look, I got like pages. And I don't want to leave anything out. I don't want to leave Golan Heights out. I want to tell you what we did. But it's an honor to help you. I have so many friends, and a lot of you are right in this audience. Very special group of people. You know, for every time we have one of these parties, We have to turn down 10 people for everyone that makes it. It's the White House. Soon you'll have a ballroom that's so big I can handle. And we just won the case today. Did you know that, Mark? We just won the case. We got sued. We're donating a $400 million ballroom, and we got sued not to build it. For 150 years, they've wanted a ballroom, and we're giving them, myself and donors are giving them, free of charge, for nothing. We're donating a building that's approximately 400 million. I think I'll do it for less, but it's 400. I should do it for less. I will do it for less. But just in case I say 400, otherwise if I go $3 over, the press will say, it costs more. I build under budget and ahead of schedule, right, Jason? Always. I know how to build under budget, I build good, but we won the case. They asked for a restraining order to stop us from building a magnificent ballroom. I said, who would ask for a restraining? We're giving them, Sid, a $400 million. It'll be the most beautiful ballroom, and it'll handle inaugurations. It's got 5-inch thick glass windows. It's impenetrable by anything but a howitzer. It's impenetrable. Now, I will say, if I'm up making a speech someday, Mark, and I hear ding, 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 I'm out of there. But it's going to be one of the greatest. I think it'll be the greatest ballroom anywhere in the world. But I said, who else but in our country would sue to stop a $400 million beautiful ballroom that people have been after for the White House? The White House has wanted a ballroom for 150 years. You know, they used to use a tent, and they have a tent, and the tent would go in a very low area because it's the only area that can handle a big tent. And if it rained, the rain would go over the woman's beautiful shoes with the high heels, about 6-7 inches worth of water. They'd be sitting in the water, and people said, we'd rather have that than a brand new. This ballroom is going to be amazing. Also designed to handle the inauguration so that you have total safety from not only the weather. January 20th is always a disaster from the coldness standpoint, but you know, we had it in the Capitol, and it was nothing more beautiful. But from a safety standpoint, we can do better. So we're going to have something that's really, really spectacular. And I thank the judge in the case for the courage in making the proper decision, because we didn't want to be held up. We would win that automatically anyway, but we didn't want to be held up and delayed. We want to go, and right outside, you see the pile drivers going, boom, boom, boom. And my wife is being driven crazy. She said, this is not what I had in mind. You know, the first day she was great. She heard these piles that go down 150 feet into the ground. Boom. Second day, she was okay. Third day, she wasn't thrilled. And after that, it's been brutal. But you know what? You're going to have the greatest ballroom anywhere in the world, and you're going to love it. It's going to fit beautifully with the White House. Happy Hanukkah. Have a great year. We love you, and we love Israel. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, guys, with that said, I appreciate every one of you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys very much. Tune in tomorrow. Going to be doing it again. You know, at the beginning, I always give my 2 cents before I do any of these. I'm about almost 20,000 subscribers. Thank you, guys. I wish you guys a happy new year. If you're Jewish and you're Washington, happy Hanukkah. If you're, doesn't matter, African-American, Caribbean, Asian, wherever part of the world you're watching from, Merry Christmas. Well, Christmas is past. Well, Happy New Year. Set a realistic goal for yourself. Try to attain it. Try your best to attain it, and set that goal and work towards it. There's nothing on the planet that you cannot do or accomplish. I know it sounds cliche, but that is true. There's so much life has to offer to all of us than just being down on ourselves and not giving yourself the opportunity to do better for yourself. But I promise you, if you put the work in, keep grinding, you'll get better and better and better at whatever it is you do. If you don't know how to build a fence and you watch YouTube and you study and you look and if you do that over a couple of days, you're going to be 10 times more informed on the third, fourth, or fifth day than you were the day before you actually even try. And it's the same thing with life. Anything you do, you get better and better at it. Yes, you can plateau at a certain point, but you definitely will get better at it. And with that said, guys, thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate every single one of you. If you guys want to help out the channel, go ahead, like, subscribe, share the video. And now the best thing for me you guys can do is subscribe to the channel or like. Put me in the algorithm. And I wish you guys all the best. May God bless all of you. May the Holy Spirit watch and keep you, give you discernment to stay on the right path in your life. And with that said, guys, thank you.